Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if neglected Naruto has uzumaki dojutsu. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by KENSHIN88 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Prologue. Uzumaki Naruto was a 7-year-old boy. But to most, he was the demon child. Naruto never understood why the villagers couldn't treat him with kindness. They always gave him hateful glares or even stoop as low to try and harm him. It was October 10th, 7 years after the Kyuubi no Yoko's defeat. More importantly, it was our young blonde hero's birthday. His 7th birthday. And that is where we are. Ichiraku's here I come. Naruto exclaimed. Naruto stood at 4 feet 2 inches. He wore a baggy orange jumpsuit that covered his body frame. He had 6 noticeable whisker marks, 3 on each cheek. He had blonde hair and the bluest cerulean eyes you'll ever see. Naruto was on his way to his favorite place to eat, Ichiraku's ramen. The only place in Konohagakure is no Sato that doesn't kick him out. It was his birthday and he wasn't going to stay cooped up in his apartment all day. Naruto was going to celebrate it with the people he considers his special people. Tuechi and Ayame Ichiraku, the father and daughter duo who own Ichiraku. When he was on his way there, 2 Chunin shinobi with Konoha hit I-8s on approached Naruto. "Hey Naruto," one of the Chunin said. "I'm sorry, but do I know?" asked Naruto with a confused look on his face. "Oh, how rude of me. My name is Fusen and my friend here is Haderu," the now named Fusen said. Fusen was average in height, standing at 5 feet 8 inches and had a slightly muscular frame. He had long black hair and pitch black eyes with his forehead protector tied to his left bicep. He wore the standard green Chunin flak jacket with a black dark long-sleeved shirt underneath. He wore black Anbu pants that were slightly baggy and black shinobi sandals. Fusen was in his early to mid-20s. "Nice to meet you," said Naruto with his foxy grin. "Good. Now that we introduced ourselves, the reason we came over is because we had a surprise for you," said Fusen. "We heard it was your birthday today, so we decided to help teach you a new powerful ninjutsu for your birthday," said Fusen with an innocent smile, which piqued the blonde's interest. "Really? You both wanted to do that for me? What type of jutsu would you teach me?" Naruto asked quizzically. "Come with us to one of the training grounds and we will teach it to you there. You won't be disappointed. We can assure you of that," said Haderu, making himself known. Haderu was in his late teens or early 20s. He was slightly taller than Fusen, standing at 5 feet 10 inches. He had short brown hair with hazel eyes and his forehead protector was tied in a bandana style. He wore the same thing as Fusen. The only difference was he wore a blue long-sleeved shirt. "Okay. Let's go," said Naruto, thinking nothing of it. He was just excited to be learning a powerful ninjutsu and couldn't wait to see what it was. Fusen and Haderu started walking with Naruto in tow. But what Naruto didn't know were the ill intentions the 2 Chunin had in store for our young hero. They were planning on killing our favorite blonde, thinking they would be seen as heroes for finishing what the Yondaime Hokage, 4th Hokage, started. But what they didn't know was that an Anbu with silver hair and a kitsune mask on saw the interaction between the three. 15 minutes later, Fusen and Haderu lead Naruto to training ground 44, also named the Forest of Death. Naruto narrowed his eyes a little and saw that they were leading him to one of the various gates. Beyond the gates were massive trees that looked almost prehistoric. "Where are we going?" asked Naruto, eyes still narrowed. "We have to go a little further into the forest. The type of ninjutsu that we planned on teaching you is a little destructive and we don't want anybody getting caught in the crossfire," said Haderu in an irritated voice that Naruto didn't pick up on. Naruto shrugged and kept following them. 30 minutes later, Fusen and Haderu were leading Naruto until they came to an abrupt stop in the middle of the wooden area. "Hey, why did we stop? Is this where y'all are gonna teach me?" a confused Naruto asked. "Yes, we are here," Fusen said with a smirk on his face. "Okay, so what type of ninjutsu are you gonna teach me? Is it some big fireball that I can breathe out of my mouth or a big water dragon that can crush boulders?" asked an impatient Naruto, barely being able to contain his excitement. "Ah ha ha, why would we do that?" asked Haderu mockingly. "Because you said you were gonna teach me a powerful ninjutsu for my birthday," asked Naruto as he had a sinking feeling in his gut. "Oh right, that." Before Haderu finished, he charged at Naruto and punched him in the gut, knocking the wind out of him. Naruto flew back from the force of the blow and he impacted with a tree, breaking a couple of ribs in the process with said tree. "Ninjutsu," finished Haderu with a menacing grin plastered on his face. Naruto got up shakingly and glared at the 2 smirking Chunins. "What the hell was that for?" asked Naruto as he wiped a bit of blood from his mouth. "What was what for?" asked Haderu mockingly. "Quit playing games with me. Why did you bring me out here?" demanded Naruto. "Why did we bring you out here? To kill you, of course. Ha ha ha," roared Fusen with a menacing laugh. "What?" asked Naruto as he took a step back. "Why? Ha 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 ha. He doesn't know why. I'll tell you why, demon. Said Haru with hate-filled eyes. Because you killed our parents, our family, and almost destroyed Konoha, you demon. That's why. Finished Fusen and saw confused Naruto. Haha, he doesn't know why everybody hates him. You would think he would figure it out by now. Pathetic. Said Fusen in a mocking tone. Find out about what? A confused Naruto asked as he looked around but didn't see any escape route that he could take without getting caught by the two. Well, since you're about to die, it's only common courtesy to tell you, Haru started. Do you remember how our beloved Yondaime, 4th, defeated and killed the Kyuubi no Yoko 7 years ago? Naruto nodded, not knowing how this had anything to do with why they wanted to kill him. Well, that was a lie. He couldn't kill the Kyuubi, so he had to do the next best thing. He sealed it away inside a newborn baby. He sealed the Kyuubi no Yoko inside you, demon. You're the Kyuubi reborn. After hearing this, Naruto just stood there in a shocked state. You're lying. That's not true. Ha 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 ha. Why do you think people treat you the way that they do, demon? Ha ha ha, said Fusen as he cackled maniacally. He's right, thought Naruto as he looked down. The way they look at me, treat me and even try to hurt me. But I'm not the Kyuubi. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Enough procrastinating. Time to die, demon. Said Haru. Naruto tried to get away from the two Chunins, but to no avail. As Naruto turned to run, he was intercepted by Fusen. Fusen kneed Naruto in the face and broke his nose in the process and was skyrocketed back in the opposite direction. Naruto skidded to a stop. He tried to get up. Keyword tried. The two Chunin jumped into action, making their way to the downed Naruto. Entrance of Training Ground 44. The Anbu who saw the interaction made his way up to the gate that Naruto and the two Chunin went through not that long ago. He wore a gray sleeveless jumpsuit with Anbu armor with a red Anbu tattoo on his right shoulder. There were white wraps on his upper arms, a blue scarf lacked strappy boots. I'm pretty sure I saw them come this way. Why would they lead him here unless Naruto? The Kitsune Mask Anbu thought before dashing into the trees at a fast pace to try and locate our blonde hero before anything bad happened to him. Back with Naruto. Naruto was leaning against a tree panting heavily. I can't move, Naruto thought. I think I broke a couple of ribs from impacting into that tree earlier. I can hardly breathe. Fusen and Haru looked at each other and nodded to one another. They dashed to Naruto and started to beat him with no remorse. While Naruto was getting beaten, he started to feel a power rising inside of himself, but once he felt it, it was gone. Then, there was a burning sensation in his eyes. Naruto started to scream in agony from the pain in his eyes, and getting beaten by the two Chunins wasn't helping either. The Chunin stopped their assault on Naruto to see what was happening. A few seconds after Naruto's screaming started, it subsided with Naruto panting hard until he was breathing calmly. Fusen and Haru shrugged and were about to continue their assault on our favorite blonde when a pulse of chakra came from Naruto. Powerful enough to make the Chunins be blown back by the force of his chakra. What the hell was that? Exclaimed Haru as he tried to get his bearings back. I don't know. Maybe it's another one of the demon's tricks. Said Fusen as he stood up. They both turned their attention towards Naruto. Naruto was standing there with his bangs shadowing over his eyes. They stood there in shock as they saw Naruto's cuts and bruises started sizzling away as if they were never there. Naruto reached up to his nose and with a loud sickening pop. He resetted his nose. Fusen and Haru were horrified of what they had just saw. Naruto raised his head slowly and showed his eyes. Gone were the cerulean blue eyes, replaced by red eyes with black swirls that looked like whirlpools, and for his pupils were three connected tomos. Fusen and Haru could feel the power radiating from Naruto's eyes. What the hell are you? Fusen foolishly asked. Naruto turned his attention towards Fusen, and Naruto's eyes narrowed. Oh, but don't you already know who I am? Asked Naruto mockingly. You say that I am a demon, but I am not. You called me the Kyuubi. But I am not. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Remember it. Exclaimed Naruto as he disappeared in a show of speed. Where did he? Fusen didn't get to finish as he was sent flying back by a kick to his face. Naruto disappeared and reappeared behind Haru, elbowing him in the back of his head, sending him to the bliss of unconsciousness. Die, demon. Fusen yelled with the kunai in hand. Fusen launched the kunai towards Naruto. Naruto smirked and caught the kunai and threw it back at Fusen that embedded into his right shoulder. Fusen fell to the ground in pain. Naruto started to walk towards him with a blank expression on his face as he made his way towards the downed Fusen. Saint, stay back, demon. Get away from me. Said Fusen as he started crawling away of the approaching Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Stand up and fight, coward. Naruto ordered. Fusen shakily got up and took the bloody kunai out of his shoulder. Naruto smirked as he disappeared again and kneed Fusen in the face, successfully breaking his nose. Fusen cried in agony as blood started to flow freely down his nose. Not so funny when it's your nose, now is it? Asked Naruto mockingly. Fusen gritted his teeth as he tried to swipe at Naruto with his bloody kunai. Keyword tried. Naruto dodged and punched him in the gut, effectively knocking the air out of his lungs. As Fusen was gasping for air, Naruto had enough and knocked him out with a chop behind the back of his neck. Up in the trees, the Anbu arrived just in time to see the tail end of what happened. He saw Naruto, and there was a distinct difference in his eyes. He saw the swirl and the three intersecting tomos in his eyes. Is that a new dojutsu? I've never seen one like that. The Kitsune Mask Anbu thought to himself. But that didn't matter at this point, he was just happy that Naruto was gonna be okay. He was kicking himself for allowing this to happen on his watch. He promised to himself that something like this would never happen again and he would make sure of it. He was brought out of his thoughts when a woman appeared next to him. She was an average-sized young woman who had a slender frame. She had light brown pupil-less eyes. She had black with a blue tint hair styled in a short spiky fanned-out ponytail. She was wearing a custom-made outfit that was crafted of thin metal mesh to fit the curves of her body, which covered her from neck to thigh. Over this, she wore a tan overcoat with a purple inseam and a pocket on each side, a dark orange miniskirt, a dark blue belt, and pale gray shin guards. And a snake-fanged necklace. "What's up, Kakashi?" said the woman to the now-named silver-headed Anbu. "Enko? What are you doing here? Did you see what happened?" Kakashi asked with concern in his voice. Something that Enko picked up on. "I heard some commotion over here, so I came over. And when I got here, he blew back those scum and started beating the hell out of them," she replied in a disgusted tone. Granted, she was a little twisted, but to do that to a child is despicable. "But it seems the Gaki didn't need our help after all," said Anko as she looked where Kakashi was and saw that he was gone. Back with Naruto. After the fight, Naruto started walking towards a nearby tree to lean against, but he didn't make it. Naruto's eyes switched back to his cerulean blue eyes, and Naruto lost consciousness only for Kakashi to catch him on his back. Lifting Naruto up piggyback style. "Yo Enko," Kakashi called out. The snake mistress jumped down from where she was to Kakashi's side. "Hey, I was talking to you, you baka. But yeah, what's up? Take those two traitors to Hokage-sama and tell him what had happened. Tell him if he needs me, I'll be with Naruto at my apartment," said Kakashi and received a nod in return. "Rest now, Naruto, you and me both know you need it," Kakashi thought as he took to the trees with Naruto sleeping soundly on his back. Chapter 1 Secrets Revealed. Kakashi was dashing tree to tree and couldn't help but frown. Granted, he did watch Naruto single-handedly defeat two Chunin by himself at the age of 7 and possibly activated a new dojutsu. But he couldn't believe that shinobi of Konoha would stoop as low to try and kill a 7-year-old child. Joe would make sure something like that never happened again as he continued his way to his apartment. 10 minutes later, Kakashi had just reached his apartment with Naruto sleeping peacefully on his back. His apartment was a single-bedroom apartment with one bathroom and kitchen. The living room was slightly smaller than the bedroom but nice. Kakashi walked into the living room and laid Naruto on his couch and waited for Naruto to gain consciousness. Kakashi sighed. He knew he was going to get an earful from the Sandaime Hokage soon. Just as he thought that there was a knock at his door. He sighed again, knowing who it was. Kakashi answered the door and showed the aged Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen was a below-average stature with gray spiky hair and a gray goatee. Hiruzen was in his early 60s, but don't let his age fool you, Hiruzen wasn't named God of Shinobi for nothing. Hiruzen wore the standard attire of red and white Hokage robes, consisting of the Hokage's hat with the kanji for third on it and a red and white haori. "Hello Kakashi-san," the aged Hokage greeted. "Yo. So what brings you to my humble abode, Hokage-sama?" asked Kakashi with his traditional eye smile. "Quit playing games, Kakashi-san, where is Naruto-kun?" asked an irritated Hiruzen. "Oh, he is sleeping right now on the couch. Would you like to come in?" asked Kakashi, receiving a nod in return from the aged Hokage. Hiruzen smiled to see Naruto sleeping peacefully on the couch without a care in the world. He was happy that he could sleep so peacefully with the past day of events. Hiruzen took a seat in a chair next to the couch Naruto was sleeping on. "So out of all places, why did you bring him here? I told you not to make contact with him until you became his Jounin sensei when he graduated from the academy. If my calculations are correct, it's early, 6 years early, Kakashi," exclaimed an irritated Hiruzen as he gave the Jounin a stern look. "Well, he's been treated like a demon for his first 7 years of life and the villagers tried numerous times to hurt the boy. Just like the past day of events where two Chunin tried to kill him. I'm going to take Naruto under my wing so this will never happen again. Hokage-sama, it would be more than this village has ever done for him and sure enough, more than you have ever done for him." Kakashi fired back. "What is that supposed to mean, Kakashi?" roared Hiruzen as he stood up after that comment. "What I mean is Naruto has been fending for himself since he was born. He was kicked out of the orphanage by the age of 5 to live on the streets for months. He has been kicked out of stores because people think he is a demon and what have you done to prevent these things? Nothing. The Yondaime and Kushina would have been ashamed of this village. If they were still alive, they would have finished what the Kyuubi started and destroyed the village for harming and mistreating their son. You could have prevented this, but you're too soft now and can't stick up for yourself against the damn villagers and council. Yelled Kakashi, losing his cool for the first time in a long time. Hiruzen, for the first time in his life, he was speechless. He didn't know what to say. What Kakashi said was true. He knew it, Kakashi knew it, hell the whole village knew it. Maybe what Kakashi said had some merit. He looked down at the floor in defeat and sighed. Okage-sama, I'm sorry I didn't. Hiruzen raised his hand to stop him. It's alright, Kakashi. You're right. I guess I'm just getting too old for this. I could have done a better job of protecting Naruto. And out of the first act, I will allow you to help train Naruto. But he's going to need to know why you're going to train him. The real reason why. Stated Hiruzen with his traditional grandfatherly smile. Kakashi grinned ear to ear, but not that you could tell with his face mask covering half his face. Understood Hokage-sama. Kakashi replied. Curiosity getting the best of him, Hiruzen asked, so what is this dojutsu that Anko told me about Naruto possibly unlocking? I've never seen it before until today. I think it's related to the uzumaki from how it looks. Replied Kakashi. What do you mean, Kakashi? Asked and interested Hiruzen. Well, from how it looks. Just like this insignia on the back of my Jounin vest. But the only difference is the 3 connected tomos he has in the middle, like a pupil. At least from what I remember, I only got a glance at it when I saw it. Explained, Kakashi. Really? So from what Anko told me, Naruto defeated the 2 Chunin single-handedly. Was that just a side effect from activating the so-called dojutsu? Hiruzen asked. Maybe, because from what I know, Naruto was never that fast or skilled before. His visual prowess increased significantly, his speed and strength. Hiruzen debated for a minute or two and stood up to leave. I'll be back in an hour. I have some things to look into. With that, Hiruzen left with a sealess shunshin. Kakashi sat down in the chair. Hiruzen was in and closed his eyes and fell into the bliss of unconsciousness, exhausted from the past day of events. About an hour and a half later, Kakashi was sleeping until he heard a knock at the door. Kakashi stretched his muscles and stood up. Kakashi answered, and it was the aged Hokage again. So, did you find what you were looking for? Asked Kakashi as he let the aged Hokage in. No, not a thing. There were no records of Naruto's dojutsu in our records. So maybe there might be some information in Uzumaki no Sato on Naruto's dojutsu, seeming if it came from the Uzumaki. Exclaimed Hiruzen with a thoughtful look. Kakashi cocked his eyebrow on hearing that. But isn't Uzumaki in ruins? Asked Kakashi. Well, yes, but that doesn't mean all of their records went down with Uzumaki no Sato all those years ago. Later, I'll send you and Naruto out to find out what you can of this mysterious dojutsu. Said Hiruzen. And when will that be, Hokage-sama? Asked an interested Kakashi. It all depends when you think he is ready, replied Hiruzen with a smile. Yon ready for what, Jiji? Naruto asked sleepily as he leaned up off the couch in a sitting position. Oh, look who is finally awake. Are you feeling alright, Naruto? Asked the aged Hokage as he gave Naruto a grandfatherly smile. Never better, but I'm really sore for some reason, and where am I? Naruto said as he stretched his muscles out some. Kakashi was the one to answer that. Well, after you defeated those 2 Chunin, I took it upon myself to bring you back to my place so you can rest. What are you talking about? Asked a confused Naruto until it suddenly hit him. The past day of events was when the 2 Chunin purposely tricked and led him into a dark and scary forest to kill him. Them explaining why the village hates him and don't want anything to do with him, and being the container of the Kyuubi no Yoko was the cause of it. Is it true what they said? Am I the Kyuubi? Saying the last part above a whisper, but both Hiruzen and Kakashi heard him. It is true that you are the container of the Kyuubi, but not the Kyuubi itself, Naruto. You can't let what they said affect you, Naruto, because it is not true. They are weak-minded fools if they can't tell a boy from the Kyuubi. And Naruto, you don't have to worry about them anymore either. Finished Kakashi as he put a hand on his shoulder. How do you know me, and how do you know that? Asked Naruto with a confused look. Well, you know me as Kitsune when I was in Anbu, but my friends call me Kakashi. Kakashi said with his traditional eye smile. Naruto examined Kakashi for a minute spiky gray silverish hair, check. Lazy demeanor, check. Kitsune mask on the table, check. Yep, that's Kitsune, alright. Okay, but how do you know that they won't try anything else or even the villagers? Asked Naruto with a scared look in his eyes. Well, because I am going to take you under my wing and train you in the shinobi ways, isn't that right, Hokage-sama? Asked Kakashi with his eye smile, never leaving his face. The aged Hokage sighed and felt another headache, threatening to split his head for the 100th time that day. Yes, that is true. So what do you say, Naruto? That would be awesome, but why? Why would you want to train me? Asked Naruto questionably. Kakashi looked over to the aged Hokage and received a nod answering his question before he could ask. Well, I promised you. Kakashi hesitated before Naruto asked. Who did you promise? Naruto's curiosity was getting the best of him. Your parents. I promised your parents I would help protect you. Finished Kakashi. My parents, he knew my parents, thought a shocked Naruto. Naruto just sat there debating if he heard him correctly. My parents, who were they? Kakashi just stood there and looked over at Hiruzen again. Hiruzen nodded for him to continue. Kakashi took a deep breath and said, your mother was Uzumaki Kushina. She was one of the most fearsome kunoichi, also known as the red hot-blooded habanero. Her and your father loved you so much. Naruto genuinely smiled, not the fake one he had plastered on his face. He showed the village but a true genuine smile. And what of my father? He asked. Your father was Namikaze Minato, but you know him as the Yondaime 4th Hokage. With that said, Kakashi dug in his pocket and revealed a picture of a blonde male and a red-headed woman who was pregnant, looking she was ready to pop any minute. It was the Yondaime Hokage with the biggest smile, and his hand was on the beautiful red-headed woman's stomach, who also had the biggest smile plastered on her face. Naruto grabbed the picture out of his hand and looked at it. There were so many emotions running through him that he didn't know what to feel. He was happy that he finally knew who his parents were, but was angry for what his hero, his role model, and his own father sealed away inside him and made his life what it was today. Tears started to threaten to fall from Naruto's eyes as he asked, why? Why would he choose me? Why would he use his own son to seal away the Kyuubi? It has made my life miserable. Minato loved you, Naruto, and so did your mother. They loved you with all of their heart, and I know it hurt Minato's heart to seal the Kyuubi away inside of you. It was his only choice at the time, and it was the only way to protect the village. Minato wanted you to be seen as a hero of the village, but the villagers were so consumed by fear they saw you as the total opposite. If Minato or Kushina were still alive, they would have made this village pay for what they have done to you, Naruto. Hiruzen said with a soft smile as he looked at Naruto with concern in his eyes. Naruto just sat there and let the tears roll down his face, letting all his emotions out he let stay cooped up inside himself for so long. After a few minutes, Naruto wiped the tears from his eyes as he sat there with a blank face. Naruto, maybe this will help answer some of your questions, said Hiruzen as he pulled out a letter from his pocket and handed it to Naruto. Naruto just sat there with the unopened letter in his hands. I need some time to myself right now, said Naruto as he stood up to leave. Naruto, if you want to be trained by me, meet me at Training Ground 9 at noon in 2 days. Said Kakashi, but Naruto didn't give an answer as he left Kakashi's apartment leaving Kakashi and the aged Hokage. That could have gone better. Said Kakashi. Well, it wasn't going to be easy. At least he knows now. Said Hiruzen as he pulled out his trusty pipe and packed it with tobacco and lighting it with a low-level Kaiten jutsu. Do you think Naruto will be alright? Asked a slightly concerned Kakashi. Yes, he just needs some time to himself for right now. But in time, he should come around. Said Hiruzen taking the puff out of his pipe. I have a question, Hokage-sama. Said Kakashi, gaining the old Hokage's attention. And what would that be, Kakashi? How would you react if you were in Naruto's position? Asked Kakashi. I don't know, Kakashi. I can honestly say I don't know. It's just like you said, Naruto lived a tough life and this just added fuel to the fire. Naruto may not look it, but he is a very mature child for his age. This is just another obstacle he has to overcome emotionally. But in time, he will overcome it. The aged Hokage answered. So where do you think he went? Asked Kakashi. The aged man sighed, where he usually goes to when he tries to clear his mind. And that would be the Hokage Mountain. With Naruto. Naruto was sitting on the Yondaime's head with the letter still unopened in his hand. Naruto sighed. He should be happy to finally know who his parents were, but he wasn't. He understood why his father did what he did but felt sad that he didn't have his mother or father to love him. That's all he ever wanted, a family. Naruto looked at the letter that was still in his hand and decided to open it. The letter said, Dear Naruto, if you are reading this, then your mother and I have passed on. I'm truly sorry that we weren't there for you. I'm sorry if you had a rough life without us. We loved you with all of our heart and couldn't wait for you to be born. I wish we were there for you to love you, train you, and watch you grow into a man. But some things don't play out that way. I just hope you can find a way to forgive me for what I'm about to do. Naruto, I don't have much time, so I'll get straight to the point. Go to the 4th head and there is a seal. Pour some of your chakra into it and you will be transferred inside. There you have everything you need. All of my notes, all of my jutsu at your disposal. Use them well. There was a man who wanted to bring peace to this world and maybe you would meet him one day. He asked me to bring peace to this world, but I failed. That's why I want to entrust you to bring peace to this hate-filled world, an unbreakable peace. Not by making people fear you but to show them love and compassion sometimes even to your enemies. You can do it, I know you can because you're my son. I love you, Naruto. Make us proud. Your father, Namikaze Minato. Naruto teared up after reading the letter. He folded it up and put it in his pocket. Naruto stood from where he was sitting and took a deep breath of the cool night air. Thank you for believing in me too, San. I will make you and Kacchan proud. Chapter 2 Training begins. Previous chapter. Naruto teared up after reading the letter. He folded it up and put it in his pocket. Naruto stood from where he was sitting and took a deep breath of the cool night air. Thank you for believing in me too, San. I will make you and Kacchan proud. 2 days passed and Naruto was on his way towards Training Ground 9 to meet Kakashi. He was walking through the village and received the normal glares he would usually receive. It angered him slightly more than it usually did after learning who his parents were. They worshipped his father as if he were Kami himself. But in time, he would prove to them that he wasn't the Kyuubi, but Uzumaki Naruto. One day, he would be seen as the greatest Hokage, even greater than his father. 15 minutes later, Naruto just reached Training Ground 9 and saw he was the only one there. He walked over to a nearby tree and leaned against it. It was 15 minutes till noon, so he had some time to spare. He was excited to begin his training, so he left earlier than he needed to. Naruto was there for another 15 minutes before Kakashi had arrived. Naruto could see Kakashi walking with an orange book in hand that he was engrossed in, with a backpack swinged over his shoulder occupied by his other hand. Naruto's sweat dropped after he heard Kakashi giggled like a schoolgirl. Great, I have a pervert as a sensei, just my luck, Naruto thought as he stood up from the tree he was leaning against. Kakashi saw Naruto and put his book away in his kunai pouch. Yo, greeted Kakashi. Kakashi was happy that Naruto took his offer in training him and excited to be training his sensei's son. I have a question that's been bothering me since you told me who my parents were a couple of days ago. Naruto said. And what would that be? Do I have any other family that's still alive? Asked Naruto, hope filled in his cerulean blue eyes. By blood, no. At least none that I'm aware of at the moment. Once Naruto heard that, all hope left his eyes. But, Kakashi continued. You do have a godfather that is still alive. Naruto looked up at Kakashi and asked, who and where is he? Kakashi sighed and replied, his name is Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin and your father's sensei. And where he is the village's spy master and gathers important intel for our village. He wanted to take you with him knowing what the village would do to you, but he couldn't because it would be too dangerous for the both of you. So he asked me to look after you and I did from the shadows and made sure no harm would come to you. Naruto nodded and contemplated for a minute or two before sighing and asked, do you know when he will be back? Kakashi shook his head negatively and said, he never said, but you will meet him one day. That I promise. Now, before we start, I have a question. What do you remember from your fight with those Chunins? Naruto thought back to the incident and replied, I remember the Chunins leading me to that forest and telling me why they brought me there, then they attacked me and then I woke up in your apartment. That's all I remember. Kakashi nodded. Well, that's not all that happened. Kakashi relayed what else that happened with the two Chunins. Naruto was shocked from what Kakashi told him and asked, I did all those things. And received a nod from Kakashi. Whoa. Was Naruto's response. We also think you activated a new dojutsu too, Naruto. What? Like what the Hyuga and Uchiha clan have? Asked a baffled Naruto. Kakashi nodded and asked, do you know how to access into your chakra? And received a nod from Naruto. Okay, I want you to channel some chakra into your eyes, alright. The one-eyed Jounin said with an intrigued eye. Naruto did as he was told and started to channel his chakra towards his eyes. A few seconds went by and Naruto's cerulean blue eyes changed into red eyes with black swirls that looked like whirlpools and for his pupils were 3 connected tomos. Kakashi pulled out a kunai so he could see his reflection. Wow, this is amazing, my eyes look awesome. I can also see your chakra, Kakashi-sensei. This is awesome. I'm one step closer to becoming Hokage. Exclaimed Naruto as he hopped around Kakashi and he could only smile or eye smile at Naruto's antics. Okay, Naruto, calm down. During your training, I will teach you how to control your chakra and I will try to help you use your dojutsu as best as I can. Then later, I'll teach you some jutsu once your chakra control is adequate enough, alright. Any questions before we begin? Yay, what do you mean you'll try and help me with my dojutsu? Asked a confused Naruto. Well, Hokage-sama and I have no idea what it does. There were no records for your dojutsu. Later, though, you and I will go on a mission and try and figure out what your mysterious dojutsu does. But in the meantime, we will be strengthening your eyes by keeping them activated while we train. The more you use them, the less strain they will cause to your eyes, I hope. Said Kakashi, but muttered that last part to himself. Okay, the first thing I'll teach you is the tree walking exercise. Which he got a confused look from our orange-clad hero. Let me explain, said Kakashi as he walked over to a tree and started to walk up it as if it was an everyday thing. And Kakashi continued, this training involves in focusing a fixed amount of chakra to the bottom of your feet and using that amount to climb the tree and keep channeling that fixed amount to stick to the tree. If you use too little, you'll lose your footing and slip off, but if Kakashi was cut off when Naruto dashed to a tree and tried to run up it. Keyword tried. Naruto only put one foot on the tree and was blasted off and sent in the opposite direction of said tree and landed in a nearby pond. Kakashi's sweat dropped as he watched the scene play out. Just like his mother, thought Kakashi. Kakashi saw Naruto get out of the pond drenched head to toe. And that's what happens when you channel too much chakra to your feet, he said as I smiled and received a tick mark in return from our favorite orange-clad hero. Why didn't you say that in the first place before I did that? Exclaimed an irritated Naruto. Kakashi sighed and replied, well, if you didn't rush into things and would have let me finish, you would have known. Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head and said a simple sorry and stood up. Now Naruto, focus your eyes to the soles of my feet and see how much chakra I am channeling to stick to the tree, said Kakashi as he pulled out his orange book again and started to read it. Naruto nodded and focused on his feet and saw he was channeling not too much or too little, just enough to stick to the tree. Before Naruto started to run to the tree, a kunai landed about a foot away from his right foot. Use that to mark the tree and we will see how you progressed at the end of the day. I want you to be at least halfway up the tree by sunset. Begin. Kakashi said as he jumped over to a nearby tree and sat on a tree branch, pulling out his favorite orange book. Naruto picked up, said kunai, and darted towards the tree. He got up about 5 feet before he started to slip and mark the tree. This is going to be a lot harder than I thought, said Naruto. Naruto continued this for the rest of the day. On each attempt he made, it was better than the last, even if it was only an inch. The sun started to set and Naruto made it past the halfway point. Kakashi was pleased with this and decided to call it a day and told Naruto to be back at the same time tomorrow. Kakashi left in a swirl of leaves, leaving a worn-out Naruto to his thoughts. I'm getting closer and closer to becoming Hokage. Naruto thought happily and made his way back to the village. There was something else he had to check before he went home. 30 minutes later on top of the Hokage mountain, Naruto was standing on the fourth's head and was looking for a specific seal. Naruto couldn't find the seal after 10 minutes of searching, he had the same problem last night after reading his 2-cents letter. He subconsciously channeled chakra towards his eyes and Naruto saw the kanji for seal that was glowing blue at the center of the fourth's head. He walked up to the seal and channeled chakra into the seal. Naruto vanished from the fourth's head as if he was never there. But Naruto, where am I? Asked Naruto to no one in particular. He looked up and was amazed by what he saw. This is amazing, said a shocked Naruto and couldn't help but grin ear to ear. In the room Naruto was in, there were shelves upon shelves filled with scrolls and books. Ranging from basics on chakra control, fuinjutsu, history of all the hidden villages, to jutsu, jinjutsu, ninjutsu, fuinjutsu, kinjutsu and the list goes on and on. To think 2-cent would hide this under everybody's noses, ha 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 ha, said Naruto as he started to cackle maniacally. Naruto started looking around the room and just couldn't believe what he was seeing. Everything was in chronological order. That would make things much easier for himself. After looking around, something caught Naruto's attention at the back of the room. He made his way there and it was a slip of paper attached to the wall with the kanji for blood seal written on it. Blood seal, huh? Well, here goes nothing. Naruto cut his finger with the kunai Kakashi gave him and swiped his blood and added some chakra on the seal. It glowed for a couple of seconds and it opened. Inside there were a lot of papers, probably his father's notes, but what caught his attention was a sword and some rather strange tri-pronged kunai with some kanji written on it. It was a katana approximately 27 inches long and the hilt of the blade was another 10 inches in length. The sheath was blood red with black and red swirls near the hilt on each side, uzumaki insignia. The hilt was also blood red with 2 dragons, one black and one white intersecting with each other on both sides. The blade was a magnificent work of art. Naruto removed the sword from the sheath and showed the sword in all of its glory. The steel of the sword was pitch black with a red sword on each side of the blade. Naruto couldn't help but gasp from the sight of the sword. Whoever had crafted the sword put a lot of time and effort into this work of art. Naruto was shocked at how light the blade was. It felt as if it was a couple of pounds at most. Naruto was flabbergasted. This had to be one of the best crafted swords in all of Fire Country. Naruto put the katana back in its sheath and placed it back. He resealed the contents and decided it was time to go. I think I should take a couple of books or scrolls with me, Naruto said as he grinned ear to ear. The next day mid-afternoon, Naruto was on his back, trying to catch his breath from doing the tree walking exercise still. Naruto was about 3/4 of the way up the tree. I will get this down by the end of the day, exclaimed Naruto and dashed towards the tree that had at least over 100 cuts engraved in said tree. Naruto passed his old mark and continued up about another 5 or so feet before he started to lose his footing and swiped at the tree. Naruto managed a smirk and said, huff huff progress huff. Huff. Kakashi smiled from the tree he was leaning against, just like his father he thought. He could see the same determination in his eyes, just like he used to see in his father's when he was still alive. He's like both Minato-sensei, Kushina-senpai. The will of fire burns the strongest in him. You'd both be proud. Hey Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto, gaining the one-eyed Jounin's attention. Yeah, Naruto, said Kakashi as he looked up from his book. What were my parents like? Asked Naruto. Kakashi put his book away and gathered his thoughts and replied, your mother, from what I remember, she was a loving and caring individual. She would go out of her way and help those in need and risk her life in doing so. She was well-known Kanachi for her Kinjutsu and Fuinjutsu. She also earned the name the Red Hot-Blooded Habanero. She also had a temper, too, when she wanted to, and from what your father also told me when she came to live here, her first day at the academy, she proclaimed she would be the first female Hokage. Hehe. She also loved Ramen and pranking, so I see where you get it from. Naruto couldn't help but grin ear to ear after hearing that. Your father was always calm, collected, and highly perceptive. He was also loving and caring, and if anyone tried to harm any of the people he cares for, especially Kushina, he would show no remorse. You resemble your father more than your mother, well excluding your whisker marks. If you grow out your two side bangs more, you could be mistaken for twins. Your father, as you know, was a powerful shinobi and would do anything to protect his home, said Kakashi as he saw Naruto look down from the last comment he said. After my father died and I became a genin, Minato was like a father figure to me. I looked up to your father and wanted to be just like him. I know you must be angry with your father for what he did, but you have to understand that he and Kushina loved you, they counted down the days until you were born. Your father smiled every single day, knowing he would become a father. I know it killed Minato inside for what he did. Finished Kakashi. I'm not angry with my father, Kakashi-sensei. I love both of my parents. He did what he had to do and protect the village. If I was in his shoes and it was the only way to protect the village, I would do the same thing. Naruto said as he gave Kakashi a huge grin. Well, that's very mature of you, Naruto. Hey, if you finish the tree walking exercise, I'll get you something to eat, anything you want, my treat. Said Kakashi. He obviously didn't know what he was getting himself into. Deal. Exclaimed Naruto and dashed towards the tree he was practicing on with renewed vigor. Later that day, Naruto was chowing down on his 10th bowl of ramen and showed no signs of stopping anytime soon. Hey Naruto, do you think you had enough yet? Asked a baffled Kakashi as he watched Naruto scarf down bowl after bowl, as if he had never eaten before. Was Naruto's intelligent response. Kakashi couldn't help but sweat drop. What did I get myself into, he thought. I still can't believe you finished that exercise I gave you. Said Kakashi as he watched Naruto finishing up another bowl of ramen. Well, you slurp burp know how to inspire somebody, hehe. Naruto said as he was handed another bowl from Ichiraku Tuchi. Tuchi was a kind man. He treated Naruto as if he were his grandson. He is often seen smiling and treats Naruto as well and considers him as their best customer. Thanks, old man. And keep them coming. Naruto exclaimed as he dug into his new bowl of ramen. By the time Naruto was done eating, there were 26 empty bowls in front of him. Tuchi was smiling as if he hit the jackpot, and Kakashi, well, he was crying in tears with his now empty wallet in hand. Ah, now that hit the spot. I'll see you tomorrow, Kakashi-sensei. Said Naruto as he made his way back to his apartment. Yeah, see you tomorrow, replied Kakashi putting his wallet back into his pocket. Well, there goes all of my money, sigh, just like Kushina-senpai, said Kakashi as he left in a swirl of leaves. End of chapter. Chapter 3 Ninja Academy. 1 year later, day before academy begins. It was nightfall. Naruto was sitting on top of the fort's head, looking over the village on the Hokage mountain. Naruto had progressed a lot over the year with the tutelage of his new sensei, Hada Kakashi. During the past year of Kakashi's teachings and his father's mini-library, Naruto excelled exponentially. Naruto couldn't help but smile of thinking back at how strong he has gotten over the past year. During the first 2 months, Kakashi trained Naruto specifically in chakra control until he thought Naruto's control was adequate enough. The next month he taught Naruto the 3 basic academy jutsus consisting of the henge, kawarimi, substitution, and bunshin, clone. Naruto learned the henge and kawarimi within the first 2 weeks. The bushin not so much. For 2 weeks Naruto tried and failed every time to make a bushin. The bushin would come out the same every time. The bushin would be pale, very pale, and looked as if it had a deathly disease that couldn't even stand upright. That infuriated Naruto beyond belief that he couldn't make a simple bushin. So Kakashi found another alternative route and taught him the Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone. The result, well, you could say afterwards Kakashi had to pick up his jaw off the ground. Literally. Flashback 9 months. Kakashi was watching Naruto attempt the bushin for the 100th time that day and was praying to Kami he would get it right this time. But Kami didn't hear his prayer because Naruto failed again. Hey Naruto, come over here. Said Kakashi as Naruto nodded and made his way over to his sensei. Okay, I'm going to teach you a more advanced bushin. It is called Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique. Said Kakashi and received an irritated look from Naruto. Another bushin. How can I do a more advanced one if I can't even do the simplest bushin? exclaimed Naruto as he tried to get his anger under control but was failing miserably. Kakashi sighed and replied because the Kage Bushin uses more chakra than the regular Bushin. Like I told you before, you have large chakra reserves for one so young. You are in Uzumaki. Uzumakis have naturally large chakra reserves. You also contain the Kyuubi no Yoko. With the seal your father used to seal the Kyuubi within you, your reserves grow daily. You already have low to mid-jounin level reserves at the age of 7. Naruto. So I've concluded that it would be impossible for you to learn the regular Bushin. That's why I'm going to teach you the Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Fine. Said Naruto. Good. But there is some things you need to know about the Kage Bushin. 1. This is a forbidden jutsu because it can potentially be dangerous. The Kage Bushins you make are given an equal amount of chakra directly from you. 2. Do not overexert yourself with this technique, if you do you could possibly die. Do you understand? Stated Kakashi seriously. Hi. Exclaimed Naruto. Oh, and another thing about the Kage Bushin is that whatever memories or experiences it had gained after being dispelled, you will gain its past memories or experiences. So this can help with your training as well later on. Kakashi showed Naruto the cross seal and said go ahead and try it out. Naruto nodded and shouted, Kage Bushin no Jutsu. What happened next made Kakashi's jaw hit the ground and surprisingly enough, his face mask stayed on. What stood in front of Kakashi were at least 100 solid clones of orange-clad, moppy blonde hair and cerulean blue-eyed Narutos who each had shit-eating grins plastered on their faces. Well, this changes things, thought Kakashi as he picked his jaw off the ground. End of flashback, and changed it did. For the next 9 months Kakashi taught Naruto the basic academy Taijutsu, Shuriken Jutsu, speed and physical endurance training. Naruto excelled beyond Kakashi's expectations during the first year, and this was only the beginning. Kakashi thought Naruto was a natural-born prodigy. If only the academy could have saw the potential Naruto had. After Naruto was done training with Kakashi, he would sneak inside the fourth's head at night and study up on anything he could get his hands on in his father's library. It would range from basics of chakra control, ninjutsu scrolls, the different styles of taijutsus, history of the different shinobi villages, fuinjutsu which was rather easy he thought, and the different styles of kinjutsus. The Kage Bushin also helped with this, so whatever the Bushin read he would gain its memories after being dispelled. Instead of reading a book at a time he could read 40 or 50 a time, which helped tremendously. Naruto wanted to learn a different taijutsu style other than the academy taijutsu Kakashi had taught him. He was looking through all the different styles one day that he could learn or that garnered his interest. After about an hour of searching he found one. It was called the Whirling Tide Fist, which originated from Yasushi Agakure. It relied on speed, power, and precision. The Whirling Tide Fist was perfect for Naruto in every way. The Whirling Tide Fist attacked the pressure points and weak points of one's body, effectively enabling someone or possibly killing someone in one blow if mastered. But not only that, similar to the Goken in some ways it implemented bone-crushing punches, kicks, headbutts and acrobatic maneuvers, so if his enemy could negate his effects of going after pressure points, his taijutsu would be able to switch up if the need arose. So, long story short, it was the perfect taijutsu for any situation. Naruto was a long way from mastering this new taijutsu style, but in time he would. Naruto took an interest in kinjutsu after finding a few scrolls about kinjutsu. He started practicing the basics and it felt natural to him. He learned the basics of kinjutsu in about a month by himself and practices daily to improve his skills. Out of all the different subjects Naruto studied, fuinjutsu was his favorite. He couldn't understand why, but fuinjutsu felt natural to him just like kinjutsu. He would study and practice all the different types of sealing he could get his hands on. He also started using gravity seals to increase his speed and power, something he needed to use his taijutsu correctly. Naruto realized that his taijutsu could read and decrypt fuinjutsu rather easily. He could decipher low-level seals without much difficulty, even if he had never saw the seal before. Naruto tried to find information on his taijutsu in his father's library, but came up with nothing. Naruto's curiosity for his mysterious taijutsu increases day by day of what his abilities are for his taijutsu. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts when someone said, "So this is where you have been, Naruto." Naruto looked over to see his sensei, Kakashi, reading his favorite orange book called Icha Icha, Paradise. "Yeah, I couldn't sleep so I decided to come here," replied Naruto. Kakashi nodded and asked, "Are you looking forward to the new year at the academy tomorrow?" Naruto shrugged his shoulders and said, "Not really, I probably might know everything they will be teaching for this year. That's if I don't get kicked out of the class for nothing again. But from what Jiji told me, there will be a new instructor and he wouldn't do that. So only time will tell." "You might be right, Naruto, but remember what I told you. Do not show your skills or anything that I taught to you to anyone or who your parents were until you have graduated," Kakashi stated in a more serious tone. Naruto sighed. I know, deception is the shinobi's greatest weapon. And besides, if I showed I was better than everybody else or smarter, the villagers would be calling for my head. The prankster, loudmouth and dead last will be my mask until graduation, so don't worry. Finished Naruto with a sigh. He wasn't looking forward to it, but he would try and make the best out of it. Kakashi nodded and said, okay, there's one more thing too. Once you start back up at the academy, I will have to go back to my regular jounin duties. But I will still train you during my spare time, and when I'm not here I will have a training regimen for you to do when I'm gone, alright? Also, don't overdo it with the cage bushin. Which he received a sheepish nod in return. Make sure you get some sleep and I'll stop by before you leave. Later, with that Kakashi left in a swirl of leaves. Man, I gotta learn that. Thought Naruto as he left also. Next day, Naruto was sleeping peacefully until the morning sunbeams shined through Naruto's window and shining on Naruto's face, making our favorite blonde stir. Naruto groggily got up and made his way to the bathroom to shower and brush his teeth. After he finished getting dressed, Naruto heard a knock at his door. Naruto answered and saw Kakashi standing there and, of course, reading his icha. Yo, said Kakashi as he walked in Naruto's apartment. Hey Kakashi Nai-san, what brings you here this early in the morning? And if I remember correctly you're never up this early? Asked Naruto as he narrowed his eyes a little. Well, I just wanted to wish you luck before you left for the academy and give you your training regimen because I'm leaving for a mission today. Said Kakashi as he handed Naruto a scroll. Naruto took the scroll and put it away inside his orange baggy jacket. Thanks, so when will you be back? Asked Naruto. Kakashi shrugged and replied maybe 3 weeks or a month, but when I get back I'll teach you a couple new jutsus. Oh yeah, when do you have to be at the academy? 8, why? Asked a confused Naruto. It's 8:15, Kakashi lazily said. Naruto was starting to panic. His first day of the new year at the academy and he was already late. Kakashi, seeing our favorite blonde, he said, Naruto, when I'm late for something I always give an excuse that anybody could believe. Just tell them. Academy. 15 minutes later, you could hear someone running through the halls of the academy until it stopped. Naruto opened the door and all eyes were on him. Sorry I'm late, I got lost on the path of life. Said Naruto as he sheepishly scratched the back of his head. This earned a couple of snickers and a lot of sweat drops. But his new instructor Yumino Iruka's eyebrow was twitching furiously and had a tick mark. Iruka wore the standard attire for a chunin. He had pineapple-shaped brown hair and a scare horizontally across his nose. Iruka's used his signature big-headed jutsu, increasing the size of his head by 10 times, and yelled, Naruto. That is the worst excuse I have ever heard. Now take a seat. Naruto nodded and ran towards an open seat towards the back of the class. Naruto looked around and saw that there were a lot of clan heirs in his class. The first was the Nara clan heir, Nara Shikamaru. The Nara clan was known for its high IQ and highly skilled in strategy and planning. The smarter the Nara, the lazier they were. Shikamaru wore a mesh shirt with a black sleeveless jacket and black pants. His hair was black, in a pineapple-style hair much like Iruka's. Then there was the Akimichi clan heir, Akimichi Choji. Choji was a short heavy-set boy. His clan was known for using techniques that can increase their size by 100 times, and their clan techniques relied on high-calorie usage, which means he was always eating. There was the Yamanaka clan heiress, Yamanaka Ino. Ino had long blonde hair and wore a dark purple outfit. Her clan used mind control techniques. They could read thoughts, confuse and make enemies attack one another, and even take control of an enemy's body. There was the Inyazuka clan heir, Inyazuka Kiba. Kiba had brown hair and sharp black eyes with vertical slits, pronounced canine teeth, and 2 red fang-like markings, one on each cheek. Kiba wore dark grayish pants and a gray, hooded fur-lined coat. The Inyazukas were known for their dog partners and collaboration in jutsu. There was the Aburam clan heir, Aburam Shino. He had black glasses and wore a gray coat that only showed his glasses. Their clan relied on their insects to fight. There was the Hyuga clan heiress, Hyuga Hinata. Hinata had Haim-cut style, with chin-length strands framing her face. She wore a cream-colored hooded jacket with fur around the cuffs and hem, with navy blue pants. The Hyugas were known for their dojutsu, Byakugan. The Byakugan when active allows them to see chakra with high detail, almost 360-degree vision and long range, extending to multiple kilometers if trained enough. The last clan was the Uchiha clan heir, Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke was the last of his clan and the sole survivor of the Uchiha clan massacre that happened about a month ago. The Uchihas were known for their dojutsu, the Sharingan. Sasuke had crow-colored black hair and eyes. He wore a blue short-sleeved shirt with the Uchiha's clan crest on the back with white shorts. There was also a girl with pink-colored hair with green eyes named Haruno Sakura. Sakura wore a red dress with white circular designs and tight dark green shorts. She wasn't a clan heiress, but she was in his class. The rest of the class was filled with regular civilian children who had high hopes in becoming a shinobi of Konoha. Naruto, after he was looking around in the class, he had an idea. Instead of coming to the academy, he would just send a cage bushin to class so he could get much needed training in. No offense to Iruka, but he could use his time training rather than wasting his time in the academy learning something he probably already knows. Once they took a break for lunch, he would switch out with a cage bushin and start on that training regimen that Kakashi gave him. Knowing Kakashi, it would probably leave Naruto barely able to walk after. Sometimes, he wondered if his sensei had a twisted side. I mean, he did have Naruto climb up the side of a mountain only using one hand, but it really couldn't get worse than that, right? Right? Naruto was brought out of his musings when Iruka spoke up. Okay class, today we will be learning. Iruka began his lecture only for Naruto to fall asleep almost instantly. Zzz, snore zzz. 2 years later, there was loud breathing that could be heard coming from training ground 9. Naruto was laying on his back panting and sweating profusely. The training ground had numerous of craters and trees cut in half all throughout the training ground he was in. It seems like we can't use this training ground anymore, said Kakashi, gaining Naruto's attention. Hey Kakashi Nai-san, I thought you were going on a mission. Naruto asked as he sat up. Actually, we are going on a S-ranked mission, said Kakashi. What do you mean we, Kakashi Nai? Asked Naruto, not quite understanding what his surrogate brother meant. It's time, Naruto. We are going to Uzumaki no Sado, said Kakashi with his traditional eye smile. Really, Naruto asked. Yeah, I want you to pack a week's worth of food, sleeping bag and anything else that you might need. Meet me at the North Gate in an hour, see ya. Explained Kakashi as he left in a swirl of leaves. Naruto grinned ear to ear and also left, but in a swirl of wind. 1 hour later, North Gate. Naruto and Kakashi just arrived at the North Gate. Are you ready, Naruto? Asked Kakashi and received a nod in return. With that, both Kakashi and Naruto dashed to the treetops, dashing from tree to tree, making their way to Uzumaki no Sado. Finally. I've waited 3 years for this. Uzumaki, here we come. Thought Naruto excitedly as he tried to keep pace with Kakashi. End of chapter 3. Chapter 4, Uzumaki no Sado. Previous chapter, Naruto and Kakashi just arrived at the North Gate. Are you ready, Naruto? Asked Kakashi and received a nod in return. With that, both Kakashi and Naruto dashed to the treetops, dashing from tree to tree, making their way to Uzumaki no Sado. Finally. I've waited 3 years for this. Uzumaki, here we come. Thought Naruto excitedly as he tried to keep pace with Kakashi. 1 day later, a day had passed since Naruto and Kakashi left Konoha for Uzumaki no Sado to find out much information on Naruto's dojutsu as possible. That's if they had any information. Naruto couldn't help but grin. It was finally time to get some well-awaited answers about his dojutsu he's been asking himself for so long. Kakashi Nai, how far are we from Uzumaki? Asked an impatient Naruto. Kakashi sighed and replied, we are almost there, maybe another 10 or 15 minutes out. Naruto nodded and picked up his speed along with Kakashi. About 10 minutes had passed, and Naruto and Kakashi jumped through the final brush of trees and landed on the ground. Naruto along with Kakashi looked on in shock of what they saw. What stood in front of them were the ruins of Uzumaki no Sado. The village of Uzumaki used to have several high-rise buildings, but were destroyed by some powerful jutsus. There was a wide river that ran through the village and was gapped by large bridges. The village was also dominated by steep hills and water surrounding the village, so the only way in was through the front gate. No wonder how they were able to hold off those villages for so long, but in the end they couldn't withstand the onslaught of 2 major villages and help of others. Naruto looked on in shocked and couldn't help but ball his fist. Kakashi Nai, who did this? Kakashi looked over at Naruto and responded, Uzumaki was said to believe destroyed by Kiri, Iwa, and some other small hidden villages. This is what started the Third Shinobi War. The Uzumaki were renowned for their Fuinjutsu, which led these villages to destroy Uzumaki, because if one seal master can restrain one-tailed beast without a hitch, just think what an entire village could do. These villages were so consumed by fear that they joined forces and destroyed Uzu. But there was no accurate proof if they actually did this. And not a 100% sure if that's what started the Third Shinobi World War, so if I'm wrong leave a review or PM, thanks. Naruto sighed and nodded. One day I will rebuild my ancestors' homeland and return it to its former glory. Maybe I can even make it into my own personal headquarters or something, thought Naruto as they walked to Uzumaki's village gates, or what was left of it. Naruto and Kakashi walked up to what used to be the gates of the Uzumaki homeland. They continued forward and looked at all the destroyed buildings as they passed. Kakashi Nai, where do you think we should look first? Asked Naruto as he was looking around what used to be his ancestors' homeland. Kakashi looked down at Naruto and responded, maybe we should look at Uzukage's tower first and see if we can find anything in their archives or what's left of their archives. That makes sense, so we find these anchovies and we might find something about my dojutsu. Said Naruto, and Kakashi could only sweat drop. Naruto, it's archives, not anchovies, said Kakashi and received a confused look from Naruto. Naruto hummed as if he was debating something and said they sound the same to me. Kakashi's face faltered. Kakashi let out a long sigh. Okay, it doesn't matter. Let's try to find the information we are looking for and leave as soon as possible. I have a weird feeling that something bad is going to happen. Which he received a nod in return from our orange-clad shinobi. As they walked through the ruins of Uzumaki, Naruto looked at all of the buildings that he had passed. He noticed most of the buildings that were destroyed or partially destroyed still had strong foundations. So if he did ever want to rebuild, he had something to work with, at least he thought he did. He wasn't necessarily good at building things, but he was hopeful. He would just have to hire someone if the need arose. He had his 2 san and ka-san savings that they left him. It wasn't as much as you might have thought, but it was enough to get it started if need be. The village in itself wasn't as big as Konoha, hell it wasn't even half the size. But if he could convince Hiruzen and Jiji, he might go for it. Especially if other Uzumakis heard of the rise of Uzumaki, they would want to come back to their home of where it all started. It could be some type of base of operations for Konoha. The possibilities were endless. And on top of all of that, he could bring back where his ancestors once lived and flourished. Because how Uzumaki went out was bull. From what he read in a book about Uzushio, they were loving and kind people. And other villages being afraid of what the Uzumaki could do but didn't and decided to destroy Yuzu was a load of crap. Naruto was brought out of his musings when both Kakashi and himself stopped in front of a building. I think this is the only place in Uzumaki that isn't destroyed. Weird, huh? Said Naruto as he was examining the Uzukage Tower. The tower itself was very similar to the Hokage Tower in Konoha. The only difference between the two was that Yuzu's symbol was a swirl that looked like a whirlpool, a lot like Naruto's dojutsu, minus the tomos. What are we waiting for? Let's go, exclaimed Naruto. He was about to start running to get inside before Kakashi grabbed his shoulder and shook his head no. Naruto was about to argue, but Kakashi gave Naruto a stern look. Kakashi made a kage bushin, and the bushin started walking toward the tower. Right when the bushin took one step in the front door, a seal appeared above and below him and incinerated the bushin. Naruto paled on seeing that. That is why you don't rush into things, because you always have to look underneath. You have come a long way since I became your sensei, but out of all things that I have taught you, this is the most important. Always remember that, Naruto, because this will save you and your comrade's life more than once. Said Kakashi. Okay, but how do we get in? Asked Naruto. We should be good now. If I'm correct, it was only a one-time use. But just to make sure, he created another kage bushin and the same as the other did, but this time it didn't get incinerated. It gave a thumbs up and dispelled. Okay, that's our cue. Let's go, said Kakashi as he started walking and made his way into the tower with Naruto in tow. Inside, Naruto looked around the Uzukage Tower, and just like the outside, the inside was perfectly intact. How could all the buildings have some form of damage if not completely destroyed? But this building looked like it had never been touched. It was just strange. If this is anything like the Hokage Tower, the entrance to the archives should be here, Kakashi said, and he opened a door that had stairs going down. Naruto, let's go. Naruto nodded and walked past Kakashi and started descending down the stairs until he heard a thump. He turned around to see Kakashi on his ass. Naruto's sweat dropped. Kakashi, nai, quit being lazy and come on. Naruto said impatiently. The one-eyed Jounin sheepishly scratched the back of his head. Yeah, about that I can't, heh, said Kakashi and received a blank stare in return from Naruto. What do you mean you can't? Asked Naruto with a confused look. Well, how about you activate your dojutsu and you'll find out for yourself. Kakashi said with an eye smile. Naruto sighed and nodded. He closed his eyes and slowly opened them. Gone were the cerulean blue eyes, replaced by red eyes with black swirls that looked like whirlpools, and for his pupils were 3 connected black tomos. Now Naruto could see why Kakashi couldn't follow him. There was a barrier up. But it was not just a barrier, it was a Uzumaki blood barrier. The blood barrier would prevent anyone except with Uzumaki blood to pass through. Oh, Naruto was definitely going to replicate this. He examined it for a couple more minutes before nodding to himself. Okay, see ya, said Naruto as he was about to start walking down the stairs again, only for Kakashi to say, what, you're going to go down there by yourself? Naruto, I don't think that's a good idea. Kakashi, I didn't come all the way out here just to turn back now. I need answers, and I need them now. If you're going to stop me, you're more and welcome to try, but first, you'll have to find a way to try and get past that blood barrier, said Naruto, looking back at his surrogate brother and sensei, who slumped his shoulders in defeat. Okay, fine, just be careful. Said Kakashi and received a nod in return. I will. I promise. Said Naruto, making his way down the stairs. Kakashi saw Naruto's fleeting form and sighed. He is just like his parents, more than he knows. Well, I guess I could read Icha Icha, it's a better time than any. Thought Kakashi, pulling out his Icha Icha and giggled profusely. Oh Akiko, you dirty little girl, you heh. With Naruto made his way down the stairs and found himself in a large room. He looked to the left, and the room was rather plain and mostly empty, with a couple scrolls laying about. But when he looked to the right, he gasped. He walked over and found himself in front of a shrine, and at the top were 3 uzumaki insignias in a triangle formation. Below the insignias were masks that were in 3 rows of 9. They all look like Hanya masks. Between the masks and Naruto was a pit of black fire that was flickering wildly. The black fire intrigued Naruto. He never seen fire that was black before, and he could swear it could burn regular fire if given the chance. Naruto examined all the masks one by one until he noticed one was missing. He looked up and saw the kanji for Death God's mask. Naruto narrowed his eyes at that. Death God's mask. I have a bad feeling about that. I don't know what that mask can do, but it can't be good. But I'll worry about that later, but first I have other priorities to take care of, said Naruto, activating his dojutsu. He looked around and noticed a huge swirl mark with 3 tomos glowing in blue. He walked over to it and it started to spin as if it was hypnotizing him, and before he could even react he was sucked inside. The wall glowed white for a second before it vanished with no sign of Naruto, like if he was never there. But Naruto groaned and sat up and started rubbing his head to try and rub off the grogginess. What the hell just happened? He thought. Hello Naruto, I've been expecting you for quite some time now, said someone with a deep and gruff voice. Hhhhh. Naruto screamed and turned pale in color and started taking deep breaths. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you, hahaha, said Laugh the mysterious man. You didn't scare me, just startled, that's all. Phew, Naruto said, and finally looked at the man who he was talking to, who had a grin spread across his face and sitting in the lotus position on a pillow. The man was an elderly man with white long hair, mustache, and a squared-off goatee. He also wore an old-style armor like the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. Under his armor he wore a long-sleeved shirt, black outfit, the shoulders of which bore the Uzumaki crest. On his back were 2 swords and the handle of the swords curved. He also wore a forehead protector with the Uzumaki's insignia. Who are you? Asked Naruto, eyeing the old man, making sure he didn't have any ill intentions. The man, seeing this, eyed young people these days always want to fight. Sigh. The man pointed to the floor that had a pillow right in front of him. Come on, sit. I'll answer anything that you want to know, said the man, and Naruto obliged and sat down. Who are you? Asked Naruto again. My name is Uzumaki Arashi, founder of Uzumaki no Sado and first Uzukage. It's a pleasure to finally meet you at last, Uzumaki Naruto, said the now named Arashi. Naruto widened his eyes. In Uzumaki he was in Uzumaki, and he knew his name. How do you know me? We never met before, so how do you know my name? And he received a laugh in return. Haha, well, I know everything about you, Naruto. I know your name, your parents, your tendant, as he pointed at Naruto's stomach, and how your village treats you. Your village treats you as a pariah, even though you are saving them every day, of which you hold in your gut. I also know why you came here to Uzumaki no Sado. I know you, Naruto, because I've been watching you your entire life since the day you were born. You are a gifted young man who holds no hatred against anyone, and that's why I chose you, said Arashi, and shocking Naruto. Choose me for what? What did you choose me for? Asked Naruto, not quite understanding the last part, as Arashi closed his eyes with a smile. Why, to bear my dojutsu and to continue on the Uzumaki's legacy, that's why. That is why you came to Uzumaki to find answers about your dojutsu, am I right? Said Arashi as he looked at Naruto with the same red eyes with black swirls that looked like whirlpools, and for his pupils were 3 connected black tomos. Naruto gasped as he looked Arashi in the eyes. But why me? What's so special about me for you to even choose me? Naruto asked and received a sigh in return from Arashi. Naruto, why I chose you is because I know you can bring peace to this hate-filled world. You are gifted, smart, you have a stronger resolve than most, and never back down attitude, and I believe you're natural-born leader and one who would give his life for the people he loves without hesitation. You don't even have an ounce of hate in your heart after everything you have been put through. You are pure of heart, you are a true Uzumaki. This is why I chose you to bear the Shinwagen, Mythikai, said Arashi in a commanding tone and shocking Naruto. Shinwagen? Naruto asked and received a nod from Arashi. Yes, the Shinwagen. I chose you to bear the Uzumaki dojutsu. Other than myself, you are the only other person to unlock it, said Arashi, and Naruto couldn't help but grin. So do you know what the Shinwagen does? Asked Naruto with an innocent smile and received a sigh in return. Are all young ones this impatient? Sigh. Well, he has been waiting for a long time to know what the Shinwagen's abilities are, thought Arashi as he adjusted in his seat a little. Yes, I do, said Arashi, and he saw Naruto had a grin that threatened to split his face. A few seconds went by, then a minute, and Naruto's smile slowly started to slip away after he realized that his Uzumaki brethren wasn't continuing. Well, Naruto said. Well, what? Asked Arashi, and Naruto's face faltered. What does the Shinwagen do? What's its abilities? Asked Naruto, getting straight to the point. Oh. Well, why didn't you ask? I'll tell you what I know. Arashi started and gathered his thoughts. He took a breath and continued. The Shinwigan, as you know, is the Uzumaki Taijutsu. The Shinwigan is powerful, even more powerful than the Sharingan and Byakugan, and could even rival the Rinnegan. What makes the Shinwigan so powerful? You can copy Kekkei Genkai, with the exception of other taijutsu. Shocking Naruto even further. Copying Kekkei Genkai was unheard of, and yet it was possible. If I'm correct, you found out that you can read and understand Fuinjutsu, Sealing Jutsu, rather easily, correct? And received a nod in return from Naruto. The Shinwigan, after copying a Kekkei Genkai, will give you the elemental affinities. If you have already mastered the steps of elemental affinities similar to the Sharingan, you can copy the ninjutsus during combat and throw it right back. Trust me, it's a good surprise factor. So it'll be best if you master all 5 affinities. The Fuinjutsu aspect would be best if you spend a lot of time practicing, because once you get good enough, you can possibly apply seals with just a glance. So, for instance, if you, by chance, master the seal your father made, that made him one of the most feared shinobi in all of the elemental nations, and he had to use a kunai. What do you think you could do with just a glance? Hell, you could probably think of a place and Hiraishin your way there. I wish I thought of something like that, but let me get back on track. Like I said before, you and I Naruto are the only Uzumaki who have unlocked the Shinwigan. The potential of our taijutsu is up to the wielder. There are many more, some that I was never able to discover, but I will not tell you them. Arashi said while standing up and patting himself. Done. What? What do you mean you will not tell me them? I came all the way to Uzumaki to find out what the Shinwigan is with my lazy sensei. Screamed Naruto, letting out all of his frustration. Even though he was quite excited at the thought of endless possibilities of the Shinwigan. But Kakashi, Achuo? Whoa, that didn't sound good. I hope I'm not getting sick. Said Kakashi as he rubbed his nose. Naruto has been gone for a while. I hope he is not getting me back for all them times that I was late for his training. Kakashi said to no one in particular. He shrugged his shoulders and went back to reading his Icha. But Naruto and Arashi, I will not tell you them because you will have to figure it out yourself. That is why. You have to figure things out for yourself or you will not learn anything. I just can't give you all the answers on a silver platter. I had to figure out most of them myself. Arashi said, casting a stone-faced stare towards Naruto, making the orange-clad boy flinch. Naruto sighed in defeat and nodded. Arashi smiled and walked over to where Naruto was sitting and gestured him to stand up. Naruto, before I go, I would like to give you a present that will help you along the way, that saved my life more than once. Arashi said, gaining the young boy's interest. And what would that be? Asked Naruto. This, one of the most useful and if used properly, can be powerful ability that only a few Uzumaki could attain. Chakra chains. Typically the chains would come out of the user's back, but not ours. Our chains can come out of any terrain without hindering us in any way. Ours are the true form of the chakra chains and can be utilized in combat and even be incorporated in ninjutsu in an efficient manner. Arashi said as he flicked his wrist, and there were 5 chakra chains shot up from the ground that were silver in color, with kunai-like spikes at the end of the chains, floating above his head as if awaiting orders from their master. Naruto couldn't help but stare wide-eyed. Arashi looked at Naruto, marvel over the chakra chains, and snapped his fingers, and they disappeared. That is so cool. How do I learn it? Are you going to teach? Before Naruto could bombard the older Uzumaki with more questions, he put his hand on top of Naruto's head. Before Naruto could ask what he was doing, there was a large chakra spike, and Naruto could feel a power rise inside of his body, like the day he activated his Shinwigan. And like before, it vanished. Naruto looked up to see Arashi with a soft smile and said, go ahead. Give it try. Naruto did as he was told and focused. He opened his eyes and right in front of him was a chakra chain, but unlike Arashi's, his was pitch black in color and the kunai-like spike was red in color. Naruto couldn't help but grin ear to ear. Thank you, Uzumaki Arashi. Thank you for everything. Said Naruto as he gave a deep bow. It's no problem, what is family for anyway? Well, I got to get going, see ya. Arashi said in a cheerful tone. Wait. Will I ever see you again? Asked Naruto with a downtrodden look. One day we will meet again. The day you meet the Kyuubi, come back and see me. That fox is a mean bastard. But I personally think he is misunderstood, and from what Mito-sama said, he is a big softie, and with that, Arashi disappeared as if he was never there. Naruto looked around the room and realized there were no exits. How the hell am I supposed to get out of here? 30 minutes later, Kakashi was reading his book in peace until he noticed Naruto climbing up the stairs. Kakashi couldn't help but sigh in relief that Naruto was okay and not injured. Yo. Did you find what you were looking for? Asked Kakashi and received a nod in return, which Kakashi eyes smiled at. Good, then let's go. The sooner we get back to Konoha the better. Kakashi said, and Naruto couldn't help but nod. He was missing Konoha even though he was gone for a couple days. Hey Kakashi-sensei, before we go, can I check something out real quick? I'll be a couple minutes at most. Kakashi sighed and nodded. Naruto ran off to Kami knows where in the Uzukage tower. Kakashi yawned and leaned against the wall with book in hand. But Naruto was up in the Uzukage's office that didn't look no worse for wear, drawing some sort of intricate seal in the above-average sized scroll that he had on his person. After he was done, he started to create 50 cage bushins at a time before sealing them in the scroll. It was some sort of containment seal. He stored 500 bushins in the scroll and summoned one more bushin. You know what to do. Try to get the village cleaned up as much as you can. Once you are about to run out of chakra, summon another cage bushin in your place. Don't summon more than 5 once you dispel. Got it? Said Naruto and received a salute in return as he grabbed the scroll from the original. One of Naruto's goals now was to restore his ancestors' homeland. One day, he would and hopefully whoever was left of the Uzumaki clan would return. The cage bushins could clean up quite a bit, but even the 500 cage bushins wouldn't be enough. But it was only the beginning. Naruto looked around the Uzukage's office and noticed a couple scrolls laying about, and there were some on the shelves throughout the room. There were mostly Fuinjutsu scrolls which he was glad to take for himself and pulled out a storage seal and stored all of the scrolls he found into the seal. He was about to leave when he noticed a sword in a glass case. He walked over and opened the glass case before pulling the sword out. A sword just like his own, it was another katana. This sword's sheath was pitch black and had the Uzumaki's insignia in red on both sides of the hilt. The hilt was also pitch black with 2 dragons, one black and one white intersecting with each other on both sides. Similar to his own katana, weird. The katana was approximately 27 inches long and the hilt of the blade was another 10 inches in length. He pulled the sword from its sheath and the blade was blood red in color with black Uzumaki swirls on both sides of the blade. Naruto looked at the sword quizzically. It was the same as his sword just opposite in color. Did the Uzumakis craft more of these or were they the only 2? I guess time would only tell as he sealed the sword in his storage seal and left. A few minutes later Naruto appeared in front of Kakashi with a grin plastered on his face who looked a little fatigued. What did you do? Asked Kakashi suspiciously and single eye narrowed. I only gathered some of my ancestors' scrolls and some other things. Well, what are we waiting for? I'm hungry and I want some Ichiraku ramen before the day ends so let's go. Replied Naruto dashing off through Uzu. I hope he knows that we are 2 days travel away from the village, oh well thought Kakashi before he dashed off after Naruto. Without further ado here is chapter 5. Disclaimers I do not own Naruto enough said. 2 days later Hokage Mansion midday. Sarutobi Hiruzen was cursing his luck because he was fighting the worst enemy of all cages, paperwork. Damn you Minato. Leaving me with all this damn paperwork. The aged Hokage thought while rubbing his temples from the headache that was threatening to split his head in 2. There was a knock at his door and with a heavy sigh he said, come in. Naruto and Kakashi walked through the door and Hiruzen couldn't help but smile. He didn't know why, but Naruto could always bring a smile to his face, no matter how bad of a mood he was in. Hey, Jai. Mission accomplished. Said Naruto in a happy tone. Hiruzen took out his trusty pipe and tobacco and began packing it. Really, that's wonderful news. So what did you find out in Yuzushio? He said as he lit up his pipe. Naruto had a grin that threatened to split his face. Before I tell you, could you send your Anbu out please? The aged Hokage nodded and with a hand gesture the Anbu left the room. Naruto walked up to his surrogate grandfathers and slammed his hand on Hiruzen's desk and said Fuinjutsu, seal of privacy shocking Kakashi and Hiruzen. Whoa Kakashi, I didn't know you were teaching Naruto-kun in Fuinjutsu. The aged Hokage said taking a puff out of his pipe. I didn't care to explain Naruto asked Kakashi with his single eye narrowed. What were one of the first things you taught me, Kakashi-sensei? Deception is the shinobi's greatest weapon hehe. Said Naruto with a grin and received an eye smile in return. You're a quick learner Naruto Atauto Kakashi said with an eye smile. And you're a good sensei Kakashi Nai Hiruzen couldn't help but smile. Okay, getting back on track what happened in Yuzushio? Asked Hiruzen for the second time. So for the next 45 minutes Naruto told Hiruzen and Kakashi what happened in Yuzushiogakur no Sado. The more Naruto relayed the information the more shocked it became. And that about sums it up. Finished Naruto and he couldn't help but snicker seeing the faces of his surrogate grandfather and brother's faces. Both of their jaws were hitting the ground and eyes the size as dinner plates priceless. You just might become Hokage Naruto-kun wait he can become Hokage and I can go back into retirement. He can have all this wretched paperwork. He always wanted to be Hokage and I always wanted to retire it's a win-win. It would be a few years maybe I could get Swan back yes that could work yes. Haha. Hiruzen thought with a mischievous look in his eyes. The cold chill went up Naruto's spine from looking at his Jai eyes. I have a bad feeling about something and I don't like it. After shaking off the cold chill he had, he looked at his surrogate grandfather with a serious expression that Kakashi and the aged Hokage took notice of. There's something else, Hokage-sama said Naruto which got raised eyebrows by both. There were these masks that were hanged up below the Uzukage tower. There should have been 27, but one was missing. Naruto said, and Hiruzen had a grave expression on his face. And I know the masks weren't originally in Yuzushiogakure. Naruto, which one was it? Hiruzen said. The Death God's mask. Said Naruto with a serious expression. As I feared, sigh, I have a feeling that will be the death of me. Damn, I'm getting too old for this shit. Thought the aged Hokage leaning back in his chair while nursing his temples. Hokage-sama, if I may ask, what is the Death God's mask? Asked the one-eyed Jounin. It's nothing you need to worry about, Kakashi. Said Hiruzen and received a nod from Kakashi. So are we done now, Jai? I'm kinda hungry and Kakashi Nai and I are going to get some training done before the day is up, asked Naruto. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, Naruto-kun, but Kakashi has another mission today. Maybe Kakashi can find you someone to take his place. Said Hiruzen while looking at the one-eyed Jounin. Kakashi grinned, but not that Naruto or the aged Hokage could tell with his mask on. Ooh, I have the perfect person for my little bro. Like who, Kakashi Nai? Asked Naruto, not realizing what his surrogate brother had planned for him. 20 minutes later. Naruto, your flames of youth shine brightly today. As our warm-up we will run around Konoha 100 times. And if we can't do that we will do 1001 arm push UPS. And if we can't do that I'll let you guess who that is. He stood at 5 foot 11 inches. He had a green jumpsuit with a shiny bowl haircut and overly grown eyebrows which gave Naruto the chills. Naruto had a dumbfounded look on his face after hearing and seeing the green-clad shinobi. Out of everyone Kakashi Nai could have picked, he picked this guy. Troublesome, great, now I'm starting to talk like Shikamaru, troublesome. Damn it. Naruto, let's begin. Said yelled guy after he finished. There was a green blur and a dust cloud following in his wake. He says that's a warm-up, screw this, I'm going to go get some ramen. Said Naruto as he starting making his way towards Ichiraku Ramen. 5 minutes later. Hey, Oji-san. Start me off with my usual, I'm starved. Said Naruto and sat up at the counter. Gucci came out of the back and gave Naruto a grandfatherly smile. Well, if it isn't my best customer. How have you been, Naruto? I haven't seen you for a while, what's new? You know, the usual, training day in day out, trying to better myself and going to the academy. Where's Ayumi-chan? Replied Naruto as Tucci handed him a bowl of miso ramen. She went to go get some more supplies. Knowing you might clean me out by the time that she gets back, haha, said, laughed Tucci, while Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head. For the next 30 minutes Naruto ate and talked with Tucci. After Naruto was done he paid his tab and left with a satisfied look on his face. What should I do? It's about to get dark, maybe I should just call it a night. Naruto was about to make his way to his apartment before a green blur was heading right for him. Okami, not this guy again. Naruto, you call that running? And before Naruto knew, he was punched in the face by a powerful punch by the green-clad shinobi and was sent right through a wall. Naruto's luck must have ran out that day because he was sent through the ladies' hot springs. Naruto, what do you think you're doing in here? Get him. Yeah, hold him down, we will show him not to peek on us again. The women screamed as they ruthlessly beat down Naruto, and only one thought went through our favorite blonde's mind: why does this shit always have to happen to me? Uwe. I was not expecting for that to happen. He twisted on his heel and started whistling as if nothing had happened. He could still hear Naruto's pleas for them to stop, but it fell on deaf ears. I'm sorry, my youthful student, but I cannot help you. And with that he blurred out of sight. Naruto's apartment. 1 hour later. Naruto was laying on his bed with his face all bruised and swelled and was thinking of ways to get back at the green-clad shinobi. I swear to Kami, if I see that overgrown eyebrow freak again, I will beat him to a pulp. Oh, and Kakashi Nai, I got something special for you, hehehehe, cough cough, said Naruto to no one in particular. You better hold on to your icha, you lazy cyclops, or it might burn to a crisp, haha, cough, damn this cough. Yawn, time to get some sleep. Next day, Naruto woke up to knocking at his door. Naruto rubbed the grogginess out of his eyes and got up and answered the door. Yeah, but he was cut off as someone grabbed the back of his collar and picked him up. Hey, what's the big idea? Yelled Naruto as his eyes adjusted to the sun. Naruto, I'm taking you to the academy. You have missed the past week of my class and you will not miss any more. Yelled his other surrogate brother Iruka. Damn, I forgot that I had the academy today. I'll just switch out with a Kage Bushin at lunch and go out for some training. Thought Naruto. Iruka-sensei, could I at least get showered and dressed before we go, please? Asked Naruto, but the scarred Chunin wasn't having any of it. No. We are going straight to the academy, and besides you are already 3 hours late. Said yelled Iruka with a tick mark on his forehead. Okay, gee, sorry, I was caught up in dreamland until you had to ruin it. Naruto yelled back, further increasing Iruka's tick mark by tenfold. What was that? The only thing you do is sleep. If you put more of your attention in studying and training you wouldn't be the dead last of your class, but no, you prefer to sleep the whole day away. Iruka fired back, hoping Naruto would see the error of his ways. If only you knew, Iruka-sensei, if only you knew. thought Naruto looking away from Iruka. Iruka mentally gave himself a pat on the back for a job well done. Out-talking the loud-mouth prankster deserved an award. Can you at least put me down, Iruka-sensei? Asked a hopeful Naruto, which elicited a glare from Iruka. No. Iruka said as he used his signature big-headed no jutsu. He's okay, you didn't have to yell for crying out loud, I'm right next to you. Said Naruto as he folded his arms in defeat. At the academy 5 minutes later, Iruka walked into his class while still holding Naruto by the back of his collar, dragging him into the class. All the kids in the class just laughed at Naruto. Haha, well look who finally showed up to class late again, huh, Naruto said, a laughing Kiba who had a white dog on his head. The dog's name was Akamaru. Shut up, dog breath. Naruto fired back, sticking his tongue out at the boy. What was that? Yelled enraged Kiba as he stood up from his desk ready to pummel the blonde. That is enough. Naruto, go to your seat. It's time to begin today's lesson. Today we will be Iruka was interrupted by the lunch bell that went off. Iruka grew a tick mark the size of the Hokage Tower. When he turned around, the only person that was still in class was Shikamaru, who stood up and yawned. Troublesome, said the lazy genius, making his way out of the classroom. Eruuduo! Screamed Iruka at the top of his lungs. Everyone in Konoha could hear that scream throughout the village. Outside of the academy, Iruka-sensei is really pissed at you. Naruto yawned. Why are you always late, and when you're late you give a terrible excuse? Asked a slightly interested Nara as he laid down next to Naruto underneath a tree with Shaoji sitting next to him munching on a bag of chips. There are not excuses, it's the truth, and they are not terrible either. Naruto fired back, which received 2 sweat drops from the duo. Oh really, and I quote, sorry I got lost on the path of life, or sorry I'm late, there was a black cat that crossed my path, so I had to take the long way, or before the Nara could continue, he was cut off by Naruto. Okay, I get it. I don't need a lecture from a guy who sleeps all day in class. Naruto stopped as he stood up and dusted himself off. Well guys, I'll be back in a few. Said Naruto, walking away from the duo. Yawn, where are you going? Class starts again in 30 minutes, and knowing you'd probably be late again. I'll be back on time. No need to worry. Replied Naruto, waving over his shoulder, leaving the Nara to his thoughts and the Akamichi to his eating. 7 minutes later, in a random alley, Page Bushin no Jutsu whispered our favorite blonde. Hey boss, what's up? Asked Naruto. Go back to the academy and dispel yourself afterward and be discreet, okay? Oh, and no sleeping, Iruka is already pissed at me. Finished the real Naruto and received a salute from the clone. Finally, time to go do some real training. Said Naruto, leaving in a swirl of wind. Training ground 9. Ah, it feels good to be back, huh? What are you doing here? Said Naruto with narrowed eyes. What Naruto was looking at was Mido guy doing one-armed push-ups in his private training ground. Oh, if it isn't my youthful student. How are you doing on this youthful day, Naruto-kun? Yelled the green-clad shinobi, jumping up from his position. Could have been better, but you didn't answer my question. What are you doing here? Asked Naruto, losing patience with the overly grown eyebrowed man. Kakashi told me where to find you if I couldn't find you. Are you ready to begin your training? Today I will be helping you with taijutsu and increasing your speed. Are you ready? Roared Guy with anticipation as he stood in his stance, crouched down with one arm behind his back and the other in the come hither motion. I did say I would beat him into pulp the next time I see him. But he is a high jounin level shinobi, while I'm only low chunin. But that's not stopping me from kicking his ass. Thought Naruto, slipping into his taijutsu stance while whispering Kai, releasing his gravity seals and activating his Shinwigan. Hajime, begin. Yelled Guy while blurring out of sight and giving Naruto a right hook to Naruto's face, only for him to poof out of existence, getting a raised eyebrow from the green-clad shinobi. When did he create a Kage Bushin? Wondered Guy while settling into his Goken stance. Naruto was hiding in the trees about 20 meters away from Guy. I know I can't beat him in a heads-up taijutsu brawl, he isn't called the Green Beast of Konoha for nothing. But why not send in a couple hundred Kage Bushins, that could wear him down maybe. Thought Naruto, putting his fingers in the cross seal, and yelled Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 200 Kage Bushin surrounded Guy. The latter couldn't help but smile. Yes, Naruto-kun, show me your flames of youth. With that said, all the Kage Bushins charged Guy, hoping to land a hit on the green jumpsuit wearing Jounin. Guy disappeared in a show of speed and started decimating the Kage Bushin as if it was a walk in the park. Wave after wave of Bushins poofed out of existence. Only one thought went through Naruto's mind watching the display of speed and skill of Guy. He's as ruthless as Kakashi Nai. This is insane. How can he be so quick? It's Naruto turned around just to see a fist impact his face from behind. Naruto went flying in the opposite direction of said fist and crashed into the ground, creating a small crater. There is my youthful student. Are you ready to continue, Naruto-kun? Guy said while giving the nice guy pose and received a nod in return. Hajime. But this time it was Naruto who went on to attack, blurring out of sight, shocking Guy of what type of speed he had. At the age of 10 he shouldn't be that fast. But Guy wasn't a Jounin for nothing, blocking the axe kick Naruto sent to Guy's head. Guy grabbed Naruto's foot and threw our favorite blonde towards a tree, only for Naruto to catch himself in midair and sticking to said tree, not taking his Shinrigan off of him. Naruto launched himself towards Guy's location with his fist cocked back, ready to deliver a devastating blow to him. He was ready to block it, but at the last second Naruto seamlessly created a cage bushin, twisting him in mid-air. Guy, not expecting this, took a bone-cracking punch to his face, making him jump back, keeping his distance away from the blonde. He's as clever and unpredictable as his father. Heh, how youthful. Thought Guy, wiping away a bit of blood coming from his lip. Naruto continued on his pursuit, throwing a spinning back kick, which Guy caught effortlessly with his hand. Naruto, using his momentum, spun his other leg around and brought it down like an axe kick, intending on ending the fight. Guy brought his forearm up and blocked the kick, only for his arm to go slightly numb, surprising the Jounin. Guy let go of Naruto to dodge two black chains that shot from the ground, narrowly missing the green spandex Jounin. Guy, not wanting to be on the defensive anymore, disappeared and reappeared behind Naruto, kicking him in the back. Naruto was sent flying in the opposite direction before another chain shot from the ground, catching the blonde and placing him on the ground. Naruto got back in his stance, looking ready to continue before Guy raised his hand for him to stop. You are very good, Naruto, very good. But you have a lot of work ahead of you. Kakashi has trained you well. Until next time, my youthful student. Said Guy as he was about to turn to leave, only for Naruto to stop him. What? That's it? We just started and now you're leaving? Asked a confused Naruto. Yes, Kakashi wanted me to test you. You knew you couldn't beat me, so you tested me by sending in all those cage bushin. But you didn't realize how fast I truly was, and that's where you messed up. You let your guard down thinking you were in the clear, but as a shinobi, you have to keep your battle senses at max, because if I was an enemy shinobi you'd be dead. But you have great battle awareness, but there is always room to improve, so keep training, and one day we can spar as equals. Said Guy, surprising Naruto that he could actually be serious when the time calls for it. Naruto couldn't help but smile and gave Guy a thumbs up. It's a deal. The next time we spar we will be fighting as equals and I will win. Declared Naruto and received a nice Guy pose from Guy. Before I go, Naruto, would you like a green jumpsuit like mine? Yelled Guy, pulling a jumpsuit out of nowhere. Not a chance, said Naruto as he shunned Shin away before Guy could ask him if he would like black hair dye and bushy eyebrows just like himself. You could find Guy crying in I'm tears and sulking by a tree. Why will nobody take my gift? Sniff, what is that sound? Said Guy, making his way down to find a boy that looked to be a year older, then Naruto hitting a tree stump with his fists, then switching to kicks. He heard the boy say, if I cannot do 1000 kicks I will do 2000 push-ups. There was only one thought in Guy's head: he reminds me of myself. With Naruto, I have 3 more years of the academy and to better myself. I will have to push my body to its limits. If I want to protect my precious people, then the real training begins starting tomorrow. Thought Naruto, making his way towards his apartment to get ready for his new training regimen. Chapter 6. So you want to get stronger, huh? Asked the ex-Anbu commander and received a firm nod in return by Naruto. Naruto and Kakashi were at training ground 9 and Naruto explained to him his reasons on becoming stronger than he already was. Well, alright. I was going to wait until a year before you graduated the academy to start this, but I guess it's a better time than any. Said Kakashi. So what are you going to teach me? A new jutsu, more endurance training, teach me a new taijutsu? Naruto was cut off by his ramblings by Kakashi. Nope. With this. Said Kakashi while pulling out a piece of paper. Kakashi-sensei, if this is another one of your jokes, I'm going to tie you up and make you watch me burn every single one of your itches one by one. Said Naruto in a menacing tone and received a sweat drop in return. No, Naruto, I can assure you this isn't one of my jokes, and this isn't average paper, Naruto, it's chakra paper. Explained Kakashi and received a raised eyebrow in return. Oh, now I remember. This paper can tell me what my element affinity is. Naruto replied with a grin. Kakashi nodded and said, yes, Naruto, you are correct. Chakra can be converted into one of 5 different elements to perform jutsu. But you can perform a jutsu without having the affinity for that element, but the only downside to this is that it won't be as powerful or strong and will take more chakra to cast than for someone who does have the affinity for that element. You with me so far? Asked Kakashi to see if he still had Naruto's attention or not. When he received a nod in return by said blonde, he continued, the 5 affinities are water, earth, fire, wind, and lightning. Each country specializes in one of the elements mostly, but can have all types. For instance, we are the fire country, so we have a lot of fire users, but we also have other kinds too, like me, I am a lightning user. Most people have one affinity, maybe 2 to start off with, but as you work hard and get older you can get more affinities. Okay, I think I get it. So how do I know what affinity I have? Naruto asked his lazy one-eyed Jounin sensei. For water the paper will get moist, earth the paper will turn to dust, fire the paper will turn to ash, wind will split the paper in two, and if lightning the paper will crumble. Now take the paper and pour a little bit of chakra into it and it will tell you what your affinity is. Kakashi said, handing Naruto the chakra paper. Naruto nodded, pouring some chakra into the paper. Naruto once he saw the paper split in two. But before he could celebrate, the other two halves shredded to pieces. Which received a raised eyebrow from Kakashi. What does that mean, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto, looking at his sensei quizzically. Kakashi hummed while scratching his chin before he replied, well, it would seem you have a naturally high affinity for wind. A really high one, in fact. I never seen this before. We will come back to that later. Since we know what affinity you have, let's go to the next step. Kakashi walked to the nearest tree and grabbed 2 leaves off one of the nearest branches. Kakashi walked back to where Naruto was standing and handed him one of the leaves. Now for the next step. The next step, you have to cut the leaf down the middle by only using your wind affinity. Explained Kakashi as he was holding one of the leaves and using his lightning affinity, made the leaf crumble up. Like so. While you work on this exercise, I'm going to go report to Hokage-sama. I should be back within the hour. Oh, and before I go you should use the Kage Bushin. Later. Finished Kakashi, leaving in a swirl of leaves. Okay, seems easy enough. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. There was a large cloud of smoke. When the smoke cleared, it revealed 200 copies of the orange-clad shinobi in training. Alright, you heard the Cyclops, let's get this done. With a chorus of hi, they began focusing to cut the leaf down the middle, which would be a lot harder than the blonde initially intended it to be. With Kakashi, so you are beginning elemental affinity training with Naruto-kun. Quite impressive for a 10-year-old boy, I might add. So, is there anything else, Kakashi-san? Asked the aged Hokage, noticing Kakashi's slight nervous posture. It was odd coming from Kakashi, but decided not to call him on it just yet. Yes, Hokage-sama, I think it's time to test Naruto's capabilities with his Shinwigan if you don't mind. Kakashi said, and Hiruzen couldn't help but smirk. So that's why he is nervous, thought the aged Hokage while taking a puff out of his trusty pipe. Exhaling, Hiruzen replied, well, that's your call, not mine. But if you think he is ready, Tenzo. Not even a second later there was an Anbu kneeling to the Hokage awaiting what his leader's orders were. Tenzo, you are to accompany Kakashi-san here to training ground 9, it's time for you to help train Naruto-kun. I already informed you in what, so you and Kakashi-san may take your leave, unless there is anything else, Kakashi-san. When he saw Kakashi shake his head no, he dismissed them. So Tenzo, it's been a while, how have you been? Asked Kakashi towards Tenzo, who in return gave a simple shrug. Tenzo had short brown hair and black, almond-shaped eyes. He wore the standard attire for the Anbu, a sword was strapped to his back. He wore a mask that resembled a cat's face covered in green and red markings, and he had a tattoo that resembled he was an Anbu. Nothing, just going on missions really, and since you retired I have became Anbu commander of our old platoon. Replied Tenzo. That's good to hear. I'm honored to say the Team Ro was left in excellent hands. Said Kakashi while they were making their way to training ground 9. Thanks Kakashi, that means a lot, especially coming from you. Replied Tenzo. Oh, it's nothing. Let's pick up the pace, I'm sure Naruto will be ecstatic to find out what's next I have planned for him. When he received a nod they took to the rooftops and made their way to training ground 9. With Naruto was still trying to cut the leaf in two but was finding it rather difficult to do. He was able to cut the bottom of the leaf maybe a couple centimeters at most, but like they say, every journey always begins with a first step. Naruto thought this was going to be a lot easier than he had imagined, but not even an hour later he cut the leaf, not by much, but enough to be called progress. Naruto was about to continue his exercise when someone called out to him. Yo. Naruto, I'm back and I brought a guest with me. Said Kakashi, making his way towards Naruto, or the one he thought was Naruto. Hey Kakashi-sensei, who's this? Asked Naruto, looking at the Anbu who was standing next to his sensei. Naruto, this is Tenzo. Tenzo, this is Naruto. Said Kakashi. Nice to meet you, kid. Said Tenzo. Yay, likewise. Replied Naruto, looking back at Kakashi. The real reason I brought Tenzo out here is because Tenzo has a special Kekkei Genkai. Hokage-sama and I want to know if your dojutsu can actually copy a Kekkei Genkai. So Naruto, activate your Shinwigan and let's get started, Tenzo, if you will. Without needing Kakashi to elaborate, Tenzo went through a few complex hand seals while landing on the snake hand seal and said Moku Bushin no Jutsu. Something started coming out the back of Tenzo's neck, and before Naruto knew there was an exact replica of Tenzo himself. Mokuton would release? Asked a shocked Naruto, looking in the general direction of Tenzo and his Moku Bushin. Yes, Naruto. We want to see if you can copy the Mokuton. While your Bushins work on the leaf cutting exercise you will be learning this. Explained Kakashi, looking at the shocked state of Naruto. I mean, who could blame him? Mokuton was supposed to be only special to only Senju Hashirama. But here is a man who he never met before and he can use the Mokuton. Not something you see every day. Alright Naruto. Tenzo said, knocking Naruto out of his stupor. The hand seals are tiger, dog, and snake. What you want to do is similar to the cage bushin, just imagine replicating yourself from yourself. It might be a little uncomfortable when you use it the first few times, but you will get used to it. Now, to know how you are doing it right, you will feel a pull at the back of your neck. Once you feel that pull, add more chakra into the jutsu. That's it, Naruto, now give it a try. Finished Tenzo and looked at Naruto with calculating eyes when Naruto went through the hand seals that Tenzo told him to use. About 45 minutes had passed since Naruto began his new form of training with Tenzo and Kakashi. Naruto was still trying to do the jutsu, but to no avail. For the life of him, this jutsu was nearly impossible to do. He wasn't going to give because that was against his ninja way. Okay Naruto, you have the right idea, but you're not adding enough chakra. Here, watch me again with you Shinrigan. Tenzo said, gaining Naruto's attention. Naruto watching Tenzo with calculating eyes, making sure he didn't miss a thing. Naruto noticed how much chakra Tenzo used, which was significantly higher than a regular kage bushin, and noticed the clone coming out behind his neck before making a perfect replica of Tenzo himself. I think I got it this time, thanks Tenzo-sensei. Naruto said and received a nod in return. Another 20 minutes went by and Naruto was getting rather frustrated. Maybe he was doing something wrong, or maybe he was thinking too hard on the matter, or maybe Kakashi, Tenzo, and Tenzo's Moku Bushins were distracting him by playing cards, and Kakashi's complaints about how unfair it was that there were more of Tenzo than himself. He couldn't put his finger on it, but if he could choose, it would have been the last one. So Naruto decided to do it one more time before he took a break. Deciding to put considerably more chakra than he had been in the technique. Naruto felt a weird pull at the back of his neck, as if something was trying to get out. Remembering what Tenzo said, Naruto continued to pour more chakra into the technique he was casting. Once he felt the odd sensation at the back of his neck disappear, he heard clapping. Great job Naruto, you did it. They don't look perfect, but it's a great start. Tenzo said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow and turned around. Behind Naruto was 3 Moku Bushins of himself. Like Tenzo said, they're not perfect, but it's a good start. The Bushins looked like puppets more than anything. But it was a great start. I honestly didn't think you could do it. But I had a slight hope of you pulling it off. I would have expected a Bushin, but not 3, but who's counting? Tenzo said in excited tone while digged into his bag and pulled out a scroll fairly bigger than the average scrolls people use on daily basis and handed it to Naruto. Here, Naruto. This is a gift from me to you. This scroll contains a lot of the Mokuten's abilities, along with jutsus for you to work on. I will stop by once a month to see how your progression is in Mokuten and help you strengthen your Mokuten over time. Well, it's time for me to go and report to Hokage-sama about this later. With that, Tenzo left in a swirl of leaves. Naruto couldn't help but grin ear to ear. I did it, Kakashi-sensei, can you believe it? Kakashi smiled, which to this day Naruto couldn't understand how Kakashi could do that. Great job Naruto. While you work on perfecting the Moku Bushin, I will go get some food for the both of us. But before he could go, Naruto told him to wait for a second. Yeah, what is it Naruto? Asked the one-eyed Jounin. I was just wondering if I could get another one of those chakra papers to test something out. Replied the blonde shinobi in training. Kakashi shrugged and handed him one of his chakra papers before leaving in a swirl of leaves as well. Testing his theory, Naruto channeled some chakra into the paper, and what happened next made him grin ear to ear. The paper tore in two, one side turned to dust and the other side became moist before shredding into bits. So if I copy Kekkei Jinkai, I also gain the affinity for that Kekkei Jinkai. Makes sense, so I guess this is one of the abilities that Uzumaki Arashi decided to let me learn on my own. Oh yeah, things are just starting to get interesting. Now time for the real training to begin. With that, Naruto began to perfect the Moku Bushins, while his Kage Bushins still worked on the leaf cutting exercise. 1 week later, deciding to take a break from training, Naruto decided to go to the academy as himself for a change, instead of sending one of his Kage Bushins. Kakashi was also sent away on a mission for the rest of the week, so Naruto essentially decided to go to the academy. Naruto walked into the classroom and walked to the nearest seat, one that was by the window. Naruto sat down and stared out the window, just thinking how far he came through the years by Kakashi's tutelage. He couldn't help but smirk. Naruto could take on his entire class with his hands tied behind his back and blinded folded and still wouldn't break a sweat. Even the master of brooding, the one and only Uchiha Sasuke, couldn't match him. Naruto could beat him in every aspect of the shinobi, maybe besides Jinjutsu. Naruto could dispel Jinjutsu thanks to Kakashi teaching him how. The only Jinjutsus that could trap Naruto are A rank and higher, which is pretty good for a 10-year-old child. Naruto was knocked out of his musing when classroom door was slammed open, and of course the almighty, the elite, and of course the breeding king, the one and only Uchiha Sasuke, walked in with a horde of fangirls following in suit. If thou speaks thy devil's name, he will appear. Damn it, why can't it be the other way around? I mean seriously, look at the way he walks, as if we should be honored to be within his presence. What he needs is to remove that rusty metal-edged spike pole out of his ass, and maybe he might not be much of an ass. Naruto looked away from the last Uchiha and continued to stare out the window until he heard. "You're in my seat, Dobe, so I suggest you get out of it," said the brooding king. Naruto turned towards Sasuke and started to pick his ear with his pinky. "I'm sorry, you say something, team." Somewhere in Fire Country, Kakashi looked up from his battle he was having with a missing nin and pumped a fist in the air with an eye smile, which weirded out the missing ninja, and yelled, "I knew I would get him to say it one day." After he proclaimed that, Kakashi went back to normal as if nothing had happened and continued fighting the utterly confused missing nin. Back with Naruto. "I have an odd feeling that I made someone's day," thought Naruto before shrugging it off. "I said you are in my seat, Dobe, now get up," Sasuke said in an angered voice. It ticked him off that someone was ignoring him and Elite. "Yeah. Naruto Baka, get up that Sasuke-kun's seat," screeched the pink banshee and Sasuke's biggest fangirl, Haruno Sakura. Ignoring the pink banshee's outburst, he looked at Sasuke and grinned ear to ear. Using the sleight of hand, he stuck an explosion tag, one of his own creations, to the bottom of the chair and another underneath the chair beside him. It won't kill Sasuke, but it will leave a serious bruise to where he won't be able to sit down for a week. And he figured that Sakura would sit next to her precious Sasuke-kun, so she was just the added bonus to this friendly prank. "Yeah, prank. Oh sorry, MC Broodington, here is your seat that you so love and cherish. Maybe this chair can help dig out that 10-foot rusty metal-edged spike pole out your ass as well." "Oh well, that's not my problem later," replied Naruto, standing up and walking back to the back of the room and ignoring the pathetic excuse Ki directed his way by his fangirls. Sasuke only replied to that was his signature line to those he didn't deem worthy. With a simple HN, he sat down along with Sakura by his side, who was pestering him for dates, but Sasuke just ignored her requests. Naruto looked at the clock and counted down 3, 2, 1. "Hey now. Kai, release," he whispered. What everyone heard and saw next was a boom with the breeding king and his trusty fangirl aka the pink banshee were sent flying into the air before falling face first on the classroom floor. Both Sasuke and Sakura's rear ends were smoking from the explosion that just occurred by Naruto's doing. The whole classroom erupted in uproar of laughter from what just transpired. And for icing on the cake, Naruto said between his laughter, "Haha, well, I guess haha the chair decided not to help but instead shoved the pole even deeper in your anal cavity, haha." But before anyone else could do or say anything, the door opened and in came their sensei, Iruka. Iruka looked at what happened to his classroom and saw 2 smoking chairs, or for what's left for that matter. He also saw his top 2 students still laying on the floor with their butts smoking. They were in too much pain to move and would hear a groan here and there. "Who did this?" yelled Iruka using his big-headed no jutsu on the class. Gibba was still laughing and holding his ribs from the lack of oxygen when he was finally to speak. "Haha, phew. I think we all know who did this, Iruka sensei psshtttt hahaha. Who could blame Kiba? That was hilarious with a capital H." Iruka gained numerous of tick marks knowing now who did the stunt, and when he looked around the classroom for a certain blonde but did not see him. He did notice the back window open where that certain blonde could have escaped. Iruka could not resist the urge to yell in frustration. "Naruto. Yeah, the next 3 years are going to be rather interesting." 3 years later, day before graduation. It was early morning and people starting opening their shops for a new day. It was the day before graduation and Naruto, now of the age of 13 years old, was still snoozing in his bed. Well, that was before the alarm clock started going off, and if fate should have it, the alarm clock was destroyed by Naruto's fist. Naruto groggily sat up in his bed before looking over at what was left of his alarm clock and shrugged before he went back to blissful sleep. During these last 3 years, Naruto's growth was tremendous, and even saying that was an understatement. Naruto far surpassed Kakashi's expectations in his skill as a shinobi, even though Naruto wasn't officially a shinobi for Konoha yet. Naruto's taijutsu was mid to high jounin level, even when he had his gravity seals on regular basis, which would make even Mito guy sweat, and that's saying something. When he had his gravity seals off, he was far faster than any chunin and most jounin, but that's a different story. But being realistic, Naruto's taijutsu may be high chunin to low jounin level because he lacks experience. Naruto's taijutsu style, the whirling tide fist, was perfect for him in every way possible, and Naruto integrated his wind manipulation and his chakra chains into the style, which made it nearly impossible to copy it with its unpredictability. Not even his sensei, Hada Kakashi with his Sharingan, could not even read his movements coming. Example, just say if someone dodged Naruto's attack by a few inches or more, he could use his wind manipulation to hit them with just as much force as if he hit them. Another example, why it's so hard to track Naruto's movements and what makes them unpredictable, that's where the chakra chains come in. They will move frequently around Naruto to try and cover up what he will do next, and before you knew it, you were either dead or knock on your ass. Even though technically Naruto never beat Kakashi in a taijutsu bout, but that didn't mean he didn't get in a few good hits and made his sensei sweat from overexertion of thinking too hard on what move to use next. Naruto's ninjutsu skills, well, one could say he was a complete utter monster in this category. With his 3 affinities, one which only Kakashi knows about, one which really didn't matter, but in the time frame of the past 3 years he mastered the leaf exercise for all 3. After finishing his leaf cutting exercise in 2 weeks after he started making 100 kg bushins to turn the leaves moist and another 100 to turn the leaves to dust. Within a week's time he got both water and earth manipulation down packed. It was rather easier after already doing it with his wind affinity, so all he had to do was do the same step but switch it up. Instead of cutting the leaf, all he had to do was make the leaves moist and turn the other to dust. Kakashi also went to the next step for his wind manipulation by stopping the flow of a waterfall. Easy, right? It was a long and grueling process, but Naruto mastered the waterfall exercise in a month's time. Naruto's ninjutsu thrived above and beyond Kakashi's expectations. I mean, the kid was a walking stamina freak, along with his chakra reserves that were larger than even the Hokage himself, not by much, but he was 13 years old and they were only going to increase as he gets older. Naruto had learned a wide range of jutsus by Kakashi and his father's library that he learned himself. His jutsu arsenal contains a vast amount of techniques from every affinity and some creations of his own. Naruto chakra control was good but could be better. With his reserves growing daily, he has to continuously do chakra control exercises. But his control was mid to high chunin level. Naruto learned much from Tenzo in the art of Mokuton, and true to his word, Tenzo stopped by once a month, sometimes twice if he wasn't busy. Tenzo taught Naruto all that he could. Teaching everything he knew, every jutsu he learned and gathered through the years. Everything Tenzo taught him, Naruto soaked it up like a sponge does in a bowl of water. And Naruto's personal favorite technique he learned from Tenzo was Mokuton Hijutsu. Jukai Kmtan wood release secret technique. Nativity of a world of trees. The technique can grow on any surface and it can easily create a small dense forest, if not more, anywhere he so chooses. It can be used as an attack and be used for defense, allowing him to capture an enemy at the same time. It was overall the most useful jutsu he had. Naruto's skill in Mokuton was about the same as Tenzo's in strength and in skill. Tenzo was quite proud of Naruto of accomplishing that feat. In throwing weapons, Naruto was outstanding in kunais, shurikens and senbon as well. He could hit the bullseye every single time, even moving at incredible speeds he could still hit the bullseye marker. Naruto's kenjutsu, he was a prodigy of the art. Naruto doesn't really have a style for the sword. You could say he was a go with the flow type of guy, but like his taijutsu, he integrated his chakra chains with his kenjutsu, making it hard to read his movements. Naruto's kenjutsu was low chunin to maybe mid chunin level. Not bad for someone who doesn't have a style. Now Naruto's genjutsu was non-existent. He could dispel genjutsus but not cast them. He even tried activating his Shinrigan and see if it would work that way, but nothing worked, so instead of wasting his time by trying to learn genjutsus, he would just bettering himself by dispelling them. So he had Kakashi cast a multitude of them on Naruto at random times to see if he would catch on to it, which helped Naruto a lot. Now onto Fuinjutsu. Naruto's level in the art of Fuinjutsu was truly magnificent. He could be called a seal master in the art. His ingenuity in the art of Fuinjutsu was so great that it was scary. But that's partially because of his Shinrigan. His Shinrigan could decipher and decode most Fuinjutsu seals that he had come across in his father's library besides a few. Naruto truly shows of how the Uzumaki's ingenuity were in the art of Fuinjutsu. Speaking of his father's library, Naruto just about read every single book and scroll in Minato's library. He even read books on politics not because he wanted to but because he had to. He knew if he wanted to become Hokage he would need to study up on it. Not him in particular, but his Kage Bushins. I mean, that's what they were there for, to do the boring stuff. All in all, Naruto was an extremely skilled shinobi, even though he isn't considered a shinobi in Konoha yet, but that will change in due time by tomorrow. 12 minutes after noon, Naruto was peacefully in his bed before he heard a knock at his door. Naruto, grown today was supposed to be his day off from training. Deciding not to get up from his bed, he decided to try to go back to sleep. Knock knock knock. Housekeeping, a high-pitched voice said outside his door. Go away. Replied Naruto, rolling over on his side. Knock knock knock. Housekeeping, you want towel? The same high-pitched voice said. No towels, need sleepy. Naruto said, getting a little annoyed that the person won't quit. Knock knock knock. Housekeeping, you want me to fluff pillow? Replied the high-pitched voice again but a little louder. Please go away and let me sleep for the love of Kami, God, yelled Naruto, completely fed up with the person knocking at his apartment door, and pulled the covers over his head. Knock knock knock. Housekeeping, you want me jerk you off? Said the high-pitched voice again. Naruto eyes opened and got up. What the hell is wrong with this person? Naruto stood approximately 5 foot 8 inches tall and had 2 bangs on either side that framed his face much like his father. Naruto was easily the tallest person in his class and the strongest, I might add. Naruto let out an agitated sigh to himself as he made his way towards the door. Naruto got to the door and opened only to see his one-eyed Jounin sensei, who was giving him an odd-eye smile. What caught Naruto's attention were the bags in his hands. But before Naruto asked, he wanted to know something before asking what were in the bags. Was that you, Kakashi Ani-san? It seemed it was more of a statement than a question, and Kakashi saw his apprentice's irritated face. "Who, me? I have no idea what you are talking about, Naruto Itaudo. I just knocked," replied Kakashi nonchalantly. "Yeah, whatever. What's in the bags?" asked Naruto with a questioning look. "They are for you. Since you are going to become a shinobi tomorrow, I decided to buy you a new set of attire since the orange jumpsuit sticks out like a sore thumb. And besides, I think you will like what I picked out for you," explained Kakashi with an eye smile. "Hey, I like my orange jumpsuit and I like the color orange," Naruto said presently with a tick mark on his forehead. "Well, if you want to become a real shinobi, you need to dress like one," replied Kakashi, walking past Naruto and setting the bags on his dining room table and plopped down on Naruto's couch. Naruto sighed. Why was it that everyone hated his orange jumpsuit? I mean, sure, a part of the reason why he wore it for so long was because that all the store owners would kick him out or charge him almost triple the amount of what other people paid for. He actually never even paid for his jumpsuits. He found a box of them in a dumpster that he was ravaging through when he was younger while looking for any type of food after the orphanage kicked him out. They were also warm during those oh-so-cold nights. They just stuck with him until now. "Okay, fine, I'll try the clothes on and see if they fit," and received a nod in return. Naruto grabbed the bags and went to his room to change. About 10 minutes later, Naruto walked out of his room. Gone was the orange baggy jumpsuit. In replace, Naruto was now wearing a long-sleeved black shirt that showed his muscle-toned upper body with the Uzumaki insignia on the back of his shirt. Also, he was now wearing baggy black Anbu pants with white strapping going up to his mid-calf and also had white strappings on his right mid-thigh, holding his kunai holster in place. Naruto also wore black Anbu sandals to go with his outfit. "Well, look at you looking all spiffy and whatnot. But now to add the finishing touch," said Kakashi, pulling out a scroll and putting his hand in the tiger seal and said, "Kai, release." And there was a black cloak, or 5 to be exact, that came to existence. Kakashi handed him one of the cloaks and watched Naruto examining it. The cloak was blood-colored red that had pure black-colored flame designs coming from the bottom of the cloak and the sleeves. The trimming of the cloak had black trimming. Naruto looked at the back of the cloak. The back of the coat had the kanji for Uzumaki Naruto also on the top of his name, and at the bottom of his name were black swirls with 3 black tomos that looked like pupils. Whoa, was all Naruto could before he put it on. Putting his arms through the sleeves, the cloak went all the way down to his mid-calves. "Thank you, Kakashi and Ayasan," said Naruto enthusiastically. "It's no problem as long as you get out of the eyesore of a jumpsuit. It was worth spending the money. Well, I gotta go on a mission. See you in a couple of days." Later. And Kakashi was gone in a swirl of leaves. Once Kakashi was gone, Naruto unsealed his sword from a scroll that he found in his father's vault and strapped it to his back. "Damn, I look badass. I can't wait to see the look on the people's faces when they see me tomorrow," exclaimed and excited Naruto. His life was going to officially change tomorrow once he aces the academy exams. It was time to show his comrades and the villagers what he is made of. End of chapter 6. Chapter 7. Next day, graduation day. The day was the day. Today was the day that Naruto finally gets to become a shinobi for Konohagakure no Seido. Naruto worked hard to get to this point through blood, sweat, and tears. The time was finally here. It was time for him to show to his comrades and the villagers he wasn't a demon and show how far he will go to such lengths to protect the village. The village that his father and mother gave their lives for, which he would do if the time comes. It was early morning, 2 hours before the academy begun. Naruto was already awake and standing in the middle of training ground 9. There was a gust of wind and Naruto closed his eyes, lifting his head up just a tad and let the breeze blow through his blonde hair. Why was he standing in the middle of training ground 9 and doing this? He was reminiscing. Reminiscing about all the long hours, all the hard work he put training with Kakashi and Tenzo at the training ground. When the breeze stopped, Naruto opened his eyes and took one last look at the training ground he had spent 6 years training at and made his way towards the academy. While he was making his way to the academy, the villagers gave him strange looks as if they didn't recognize him. Naruto couldn't help but not keep the smirk that gradually graced his lips. It was a good feeling that they didn't recognize him and grateful of Kakashi getting his new wardrobe. Because if they did notice him, they would have tried to foolishly apprehend him to not get a shot at graduating the academy. Heck, he were tried. Even though he will protect the villagers once he becomes a shinobi, but he wasn't one yet and he will protect himself and he was not going to let the villagers bully him anymore. The smirking blonde, deciding not to walk anymore, decided to shunch into the academy. With that said, he left in a swirl of wind and the blonde was gone with no trace of him being there. Naruto was in front of the academy and started making his way towards Iruka's class. Naruto didn't need to be there for another hour, but he was just excited of becoming a shinobi. He just couldn't help but be early. Naruto opened the door to the classroom and he saw Iruka at his desk probably grading some papers or something. Iruka looked up and saw a blonde with two bangs framing his face with a blood-colored red cloak with black flames coming from the bottom of his cloak and his sleeves. Iruka looked at the boy who had a lot of similarities to their deceased Hokage, Yondaime. Iruka looked at the boy with calculating eyes and one distinctive feature he saw on the look-alike Yondaime were whisker marks. Whiskers. Then it finally clicked. "And Naruto?" asked Iruka with a perplexed look. Naruto grinned ear to ear and Naruto replied, "The one and only, Iruka-sensei." Naruto couldn't help but sweat drop as he saw Iruka put his hand in the tiger seal and repeated over and over, "Kai, release, Kai, Kai. Why won't this genjutsu dispel?" "You can't be Naruto," yelled a shocked Iruka. "And why would you say that, Iruka-sensei?" asked a confused Naruto. "I mean, sure he did change his attire, but he wouldn't have thought that Iruka would do this." "You're early. An hour early," yelled Iruka making Naruto face fault. "I'm not that bad." Naruto fired back, which in return gave Iruka a tick mark. "Naruto, you have the worst attendance and tardies in this academy's history. I'm even surprised you get a chance to pass the academy today. But Hokage-sama was rather insistent that I give you a chance, so I am. I was actually about to leave to go get you to make sure you were here on time so you didn't get another tardy on your last day. I'm just tempted to pass you so I don't have to deal with you or your tardiness next year. But since you are here, you saved me some time to actually get some paperwork done. So I'll see you in a little bit. Oh, and before I leave, Mizuki should be here in 15-20 minutes. Also, please do not do any pranks while I'm gone, or at all for that matter," asked Iruka with a pleading voice. "I promise I won't do any pranks today, Iruka-sensei. You have my word." Naruto replied and received a thankful nod in return by Iruka. "Okay, well, I'll see you later, Naruto. I should be back before class begins." With that said, Iruka left with a stack of papers in his hand and walked out the door. Naruto looked around the empty classroom and decided to sit in the back of the class. Naruto was excited. Today was the day. No more sitting through Iruka's boring lectures, even though he was hardly there, and now he gets to go on missions. He knew he had to go on D ranks to start off, but that's what Kage Bushin was for. While Naruto was waiting for class to begin, he saw his fellow classmates started filing in either one by one or some in groups. Also, like usual, the brooding king aka Uchiha Sasuke walked in with his horde of his fangirls in tow. And true to Iruka's word, Mizuki showed up 20 minutes later. About 5 minutes after Mizuki showed up, Iruka came into the classroom. After about 10 minutes, everyone was at the academy and Iruka began roll call. "Hello everyone, class is in sess." Iruka stopped in mid-sentence after he noticed he didn't have his students' attention. Iruka cleared his throat, cracked his neck and back before using his jutsu that he created himself, the big-headed no jutsu. "Silence." Iruka yelled and inwardly patted himself on the back, seeing that everyone seemed to quiet down and were paying full attention towards himself. After everyone quieted down, Iruka started roll call and going through the names on his list until he reached Naruto. "Uzumaki Naruto," said Iruka. Naruto raised his hand and replied, "Here." Everyone in class jaws dropped. Well, most had their jaws dropped. Some of the girls in the class had small blushes grace their faces. Was that really Naruto? It couldn't be. "What are you all staring at?" asked a confused Naruto. "You're actually here. You're on time. You're not wearing that horrid orange jumpsuit anymore," were most of the replies he received from his fellow classmates. Which in return, Naruto could only sweat drop. "Alright, enough. Today, as you know, is the Genin graduation exams. There are 2 parts to the exam. The first is the written exam consisting of basic knowledge you should know of being a shinobi. The second and the last part of the exam is the ninjutsu portion, which consists the 3 basic academy jutsu. Any questions?" When he received none, he passed out the papers for the written exam. "Okay, you have 30 minutes to complete the written portion. After the 30 minutes are up, I will call time and you will stop writing. You will hand me your test and sit back down and wait to be called for the ninjutsu portion of the exam. After your name is called, you will go to classroom across the hall where Mizuki and I will conduct the ninjutsu portion of the exam. Once you pass, or if you pass, you will receive a Konoha hit I8. After you receive your hit I8, you may leave, but you must be back here in 2 days for team placements at 8 in the morning sharp. And that means you as well, Naruto. That is all, you may begin." Finished Iruka and was pleased to hear pencil hitting paper after he finished. Naruto looked at his test and saw that the test was on basic knowledge of being a shinobi like Iruka said. While Naruto was writing his answers to the questions on his test, he felt as if someone was watching him. Naruto looked up from his test and looked around the room. He saw his sensei Mizuki eyeing him down with an evil smirk, which unnerved Naruto. "Why is he staring at me like that? Whatever, I'll look into it later," Naruto thought to himself. Naruto continued with his test before he was finished with 5 minutes to spare. Naruto answered enough of them right so he could pass the written portion. He didn't want to answer all of them right because he was still keeping his mask up until he graduated. He promised Kakashi so he will keep his mask up for now. After the 30 minutes were up, Iruka called time. Everyone in class stood up and gave their test sheets to Iruka and sat back down and awaited for the last portion of the exams to begin. Iruka begun calling out names and one by one the shinobis in training went to the room across the hall for the last portion of the exam. Naruto was the last name to be called. It's time. Finally, Naruto stood from where he was sitting and made his way to the room across the hall. Naruto opened the door and saw Iruka and Mizuki sitting at a long rectangular desk. Iruka smiled at Naruto and said, "Are you ready, Naruto?" and he received a nod in return. "Okay, the first jutsu I want you to perform is the Kawarimi no Jutsu," said Iruka as he threw a chalkboard eraser at Naruto's head. There was a poof of smoke and there was log that was laying where Naruto once stood. Naruto appeared from the window that was in the classroom with a grin on his face. "Great job. Okay, next is Henge no Jutsu," said Iruka with hope in his eyes that Naruto might actually pass. Naruto nodded without using hand seals, which Iruka noticed as well as Mizuki. Naruto henge into a perfect replica of the Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Mizuki, seeing what was happening, he mentally seethed. Damn it. What is going on? He could never do these techniques last week. If he passes, what am I going to do about the Fukin no Sho, scroll of seals? Maybe, I can still find a different way to trick him into getting it for me. Fantastic. Now Naruto, the last and final one I like for you to perform is the Bushin no Jutsu. The minimum number of bushins I would like for you to do is 2. Iruka said. Naruto inwardly groaned. Why did it have to be a regular bushin? Oh well, time to give a shot. Bushin no Jutsu. There was a small smoke cloud. When the smoke cleared, it revealed a clone of some sort that looked half dead and pale as can be. Even its clothes were pale, laying next to the original Naruto who was crying and I'm tears. Or maybe not, thought Mizuki. Iruka's face faltered and Mizuki had a menacing grin that went unnoticed by Iruka but not Naruto. Damn it. It seems I still can't perform the bushin. Iruka, do you mind if I do a different bushin? Asked Naruto, looking at Iruka pick his face off the ground. Literally, yes you may. Replied Iruka, who was praying to Kami that Naruto passes. Mizuki raised an eyebrow. The only other bushin he knows about was the Page Bushin no Jutsu, Naruto said, which shocked Iruka that Naruto knew a B-ranked kinjutsu that could possibly kill some jounin. There was a puff of smoke. When it cleared, there was 10 replicas of Naruto standing there with grins that threatened to split their face. Iruka's face was gaping like a fish, but he soon snapped out of it and threw Naruto a hit I8 which he caught and said happily, "You pass. Congratulations, Naruto. We will see you in 2 days' time for team placements." Naruto smirked and wrapped the hit I8 around his forehead, letting his bangs fall from the sides and frame his face. He was a shinobi of the leaf and he was going to represent Konoha proudly. While Naruto made his way out the door, he caught a glimpse of Mizuki glaring at him. Naruto just shrugged it off like he would do with the villagers. Outside the academy, Naruto made his outside the academy with a grin and his arms resting around his head, showing off his hit I8 proudly. Naruto saw his fellow classmates outside being congratulated by their parents and other family members. The grin on Naruto's face slowly turning into a frown once he saw that nobody was there to congratulate him. No father, no mother, or no family. Naruto just started to walk where he didn't know. Naruto passed the parents and their children that passed the genin exams, and there they were again. The whispers and the hateful glares. How could they let that thing become a shinobi? That damn demon. Maybe we will all be lucky enough that he will die on a mission. I'll look at that. No one came to congratulate the demon. HMPH, figures no one cares for the damn thing anyway. The comments just kept coming, and to Naruto's enhanced senses he heard every single one of them. Once Naruto was out of sight, he shunshin away. The only other person who saw and heard everything was Mizuki, who smirked and had one thought on his mind. Gotcha, now all I have to do is convince him and the Fukin no Sho will be mine, thought Mizuki, leaving in a swirl of leaves. Once Mizuki left, the crowd of people burst into a puff of smoke as if they were never there. With Naruto atop the Hokage monument, Naruto was sitting on top of the fourth's head looking over the village, the frown still ever present on his face. Naruto continued looking over the village for about another 10 minutes before a voice broke him out, is sulking. What's wrong, Naruto? A familiar voice said. Naruto didn't need to turn around, already knowing who it was. What do you want, Mizuki-sensei? Replied Naruto dryly. Well, I came here to congratulate you on passing the genin exam and becoming a genin. It's probably really hard not having parents to congratulate you on this special occasion. Especially with all the villagers giving you a hard time. Said Mizuki with a reassuring smile and taking a seat on the ground next to Naruto. Naruto narrowed his eyes at his sensei and replied, what are you getting at, Mizuki? I'm not getting at nothing. I just wanted to say congratulations since no one did besides Iruka and I. There is something I would like to ask you though. Mizuki said, gaining Naruto's attention. Yeah, and what is that? Replied Naruto looking back over the village. Why haven't you tried to get revenge against the villagers that seem to spite you for even the simplest things such as breathing? Mizuki asked, gaining the blonde's full attention. Naruto shrugged and laid down with his arms behind his head and looked at all the puffy white clouds in the beautiful blue sky. I don't know. If I just started getting revenge on everybody I saw or who treated me wrong, there wouldn't be much of a village left and I'm not strong enough to do that. Mizuki inwardly smirked and thought hook, line and sinker. Now to reel him in. What if I told you there was a way for you to get this power and strength to get back at all the people who wronged your whole life? Said Mizuki. Okay, I'm listening. Replied Naruto, which he received a sadistic grin in return that didn't go unnoticed by Naruto. Now I'm only going to tell you this once. In the Hokage Tower there is a scroll called FanFiction no Sho. The scroll is on an altar and the 2 doors down from the Hokage's office. Inside of said scroll are powerful kenjutsu. With these kenjutsus we could bring down all of the elemental nations if we absolutely wanted to. And most importantly, your revenge against the villagers that you so happily crave. Mizuki said, standing up with a menacing smirk on his face. Okay, but if we do this we will have to meet up somewhere and leave the village. Once they find out, they will be after us as long as it takes to get that scroll back from what you said it contains. So what time do you want me to steal the FanFiction no Sho and where should we meet up? Asked Naruto with a determined look on his visage. Here. This will tell you what time and a map where we will meet up at. It's a small shack just a little ways outside the village walls. Be there by 2 in the morning and we will leave this kami-forsaken village once I get there. Said Mizuki and received a nod in return. With that said, Mizuki left in a swirl of leaves, but he never noticed the smirk that gradually graced his lips. Naruto looked around to make sure Mizuki was nowhere to be found. Naruto said, did you get all that Hokajoji-san and Kakashi Ani-san? Asked Naruto out loud after he finished. There were 2 puffs of smoke when it cleared. It revealed Sarutobi Hiruzen and Hada Kakashi. Kakashi and Hiruzen nodded and made their way to Naruto. Yes, we did, Naruto. I can't believe Mizuki would betray Konoha in such a way like this. Said the aged Hokage in clear shock. Hokage-sama, what should you have us do? Do you want us to subdue Mizuki and bring him in for questioning? Or do? Kakashi was cut off by Hiruzen raising his hand for him to stop. Hiruzen sighed and replied, Naruto will continue out with Mizuki's plan and Naruto will subdue him. Naruto, it's time to put Kakashi's teachings to the test and see how far you've grown. Kakashi, you will watch from the shadows and assist Naruto if he needs it or if there is more of my shinobi that decided to become traitors of this village along with Mizuki. This is an A rank capture and subdue mission. Naruto, can you handle this? Asked Hiruzen with a serious expression on his face that showed failure was not an option. Hiruzen knew of Naruto's capabilities and knew he could do it. Besides being trained by some of his best jounin in the village for 6 years, he had no doubt in his mind that Naruto could defeat and subdue Mizuki. Hi, Hokage-sama. This is my first mission as a Konoha shinobi and with my Nindo on the line I will not fail. Replied Naruto, which he received a grandfatherly smile and an eye smile in return. What time does he want you to steal the FanFiction no Sho, Naruto? Asked Kakashi. Naruto opened up the paper slip that Mizuki gave to him and replied, he wants me to start the operation at 10 at night and he wants us to meet up at a shack west of the village walls. It's about an hour from the Hokage Tower. So I would have to wait 3 hours for him to get there. What the hell am I supposed to do for 3 hours? Naruto said in frustration, which he received an eye smile in return. You could just pretend that you are waiting for me if you want. I'm normally 3 hours late so it shouldn't be too hard. Kakashi said and received a glare in return by said blonde. Maybe I could learn a jutsu out of the scroll while I wait, Hokajoji-san? Asked an excited Naruto, which received a sigh in return. I wouldn't recommend doing that, Naruto. We will see you at 10 tonight, alright? Hiruzen didn't let Naruto get a chance to argue and left in a swirl of leaves along with Kakashi. Naruto pouted for a second before a smile crept to his face. Hehe, he said he wouldn't recommend doing it. He didn't give me a direct order. So I know what I'm going to do for those 3 hours. Who has 2 thumbs and gets to train out of the FanFiction no Sho? Yeah, you know it, this guy. Naruto said with a shit-eating grin and left in a swirl of wind. 2 in the morning outside of Konoha's walls. Naruto was breathing heavy on his hands and knees with the FanFiction no Sho laying out in front of him. Naruto had trained for the past 3.5 hours with the complex kenjutsu out of the scroll. Which were a lot harder than Naruto would have liked, but he still learned a new jutsu he thought would come in handy. Naruto smiled to himself with the accomplishment of learning a kenjutsu in a little over than 3 hours, but he was cut out of his musings by a voice. Do you copy, Naruto? Asked Kakashi through his earpiece. Yes, I'm ready. Is he almost here? Asked Naruto through his. He should be there within the next minute. Remember to ask him what we told you. We need to know who is after the scroll specifically, and we would also like to know if there are any others working with or for him. He's here, I got your back if you need it. Replied Kakashi, who was waiting to strike if Naruto needed him. This was Naruto's mission, and it was time to see if he can handle his own against other trained shinobi. Kakashi knew Naruto wasn't going to lose knowing Naruto, but it was better to be safe than sorry. Copy. Naruto whispered to Kakashi while tying the Fukin no Sho to his back and awaited for Mizuki to arrive. About 10 seconds later Mizuki appeared on a branch overhead. Mizuki had shoulder-length white hair with a slight hint of blue. He had green eyes and wore the standard attire of a chunin and wore his hit I-8 bandana style. He also had 2 overly large shurikens on his back. "Were you followed?" asked Naruto, gaining Mizuki's attention. "No, but I'm actually surprised you could steal the scroll without anyone noticing," said a surprised Mizuki. "Well, I can thank my pranks on that one. It taught me to become really good at stealth and hide my presence quite easily after a while. I even gave the Anbu the slip multiple times even when wearing my orange jumpsuit," replied Naruto with a smirk on his face, remembering all the pranks he did when he was younger. "I guess that came in handy, didn't it? Okay, toss me the scroll and let's head out before anyone notices the scroll missing," said Mizuki, holding out his hand waiting for Naruto to toss him the scroll. Naruto took the scroll off his back and was about to throw it to him, but before he did he asked, "I have a question, before we go, I would like to know where we are going after this." Mizuki let out a frustrated sigh and replied, "We are going to Atagakure to meet someone there. And I'm assuming we will be giving this scroll to them when we get there. Do you mind if I ask who?" asked Naruto, examining Mizuki, and saw he was getting more and more frustrated with Naruto as time passed. "What's with all the questions? If you must know, it is one of the legendary Sannin, Orochimaru. He will give me what I have most craved for the longest time since I was your age, power. Uncontrollable power," replied Mizuki, losing his patience while holding out his hand again, and replied, "Now, give me the scroll and let's go." "Okay, but let me ask one more question. Is there more shinobi we are meeting up with us or someone from our village or another village?" Naruto asked again and making Mizuki furious. "No. Now give me the damn scroll before I'll kill you myself," yelled Mizuki, losing his cool and holding out his hand again. "Okay, geez, stop getting mad, for crying out loud. Oh, and one more thing before we go, you might want to take a look behind you," said Naruto with fox-like smirk on his face. Mizuki turned just in time to get a bone-crushing punch to the face that sent him flying in the opposite direction by said fist. Before he could crash into something, there was a black chain with red kunai-like spikes that shot out the ground and wrapped itself around Mizuki's waist. It twirled him around before throwing him back to the place where he was dealt the bone-crushing punch. Mizuki saw Naruto jump in the air above him before being heel-kicked in the face and plummeted to the ground below, creating a small crater where he landed. Naruto landed gracefully on his feet and waited for Mizuki to pick himself off the ground. "That actually hurt, you damn demon," replied Mizuki while standing up on wobbly legs with blood coming out of his mouth. Mizuki spat out some of the blood that was in his mouth and said, "It's too bad you have to die tonight. I was going to kill you on our way to Atagakure, but I guess right now is better than any," said Mizuki while taking off one of his giant shuriken and jumping up to one of the nearest tree branches above. Mizuki started to spin it in his hand and threw it at Naruto. Naruto stood there with a blank face, and before the shuriken could reach him, a chakra chain shot out of the ground and went through the handle of the shuriken and threw it back with the same velocity. Naruto went through a set of hand seals and yelled out, "Shuriken Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique." The one overly large shuriken turned into 8 and headed for Mizuki, who had a look of shock ever present on his face of what happened but recovered quickly. He wasn't a chunin for nothing. Jumping out of the way of the shurikens that threatened to tear him into pieces, which instead tore away the tree he threw the shuriken from. Poor tree. After Mizuki was out of harm's way, Naruto was already pressing him back with little difficulty. Mizuki tried his best at defending against Naruto, but he was relentless. Mizuki noticed that Naruto was going for pressure points to disable his limbs, which luckily Mizuki dodged just in the nick of time on most, but once he dodged he would get hit in the face, ribs, or stomach for his troubles. Mizuki jumped back and stopped about 25 yards away from the young blonde. Mizuki was barely standing on his 2 feet, and if looks could kill, Naruto would have been dust. "What the hell are you?" asked a beaten and bruised chunin. "Who, me? Uzumaki Naruto, we met before, right?" asked Naruto with a nonchalant look. "Don't play games with me. You can't be that demon. Someone as worthless as him who has nobody or who nobody likes could be this strong. I should have killed you already, but I haven't even laid a finger on you. You were the dead last and nobody, but how, I don't understand. I should have this power, not you," yelled Mizuki, taking a kunai out of his kunai pouch. Making his last-ditch effort, which he tried to kill the blonde Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Keyword tried. Naruto looked at Mizuki with cold, hardened eyes that showed no compassion, no sympathy, no fear, just coldness. "Worthless, I'll show him who is truly worthless," thought Naruto. Mizuki smirked after he saw he was mere inches away from Naruto's throat with his kunai. 8 inches, 6 inches, 3 inches, 1 inch. Before Mizuki could celebrate, there was only one thing he heard, just one simple word. Boom. Naruto said before blowing up in a small explosion. It was a head-on explosion, so Mizuki took the brunt of the force. Mizuki was sent flying back and impacted into a tree that left a crater in said tree before sliding to the ground unconscious. Mizuki was smoking with singes all over his body. That jutsu could have killed him if he put more chakra into the clone. Naruto stepped out behind a tree and put a chakra suppression seal on the smoking man. Literally. Ha, worthless. You should look in the mirror, pal, but if I were you I would wait like a couple weeks cause you look like you came from hell and back. Hehe, I need to write that one down, that was a good one. Finished Naruto, taking out a scroll and put Mizuki in a containment seal so he couldn't escape even if he tried to. Naruto heard clapping and looked at his sensei of 6 years. That was like a big brother to him. That was amazing, Naruto. That was an excellent use of the Bushin Daibakuha. Especially that you just learned how to use the technique. You did well on your first mission as a genin. I am proud to be called your sensei. Said his lazy sensei and brother in everything but blood. Let's go and give our report to Hokage-sama. Once he received a nod in return, Kakashi put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and they both left in a swirl of leaves. Hokage Tower 15 minutes after 3. Excellent job, Naruto. Even though you didn't listen to me and still looked in the Fukin no show, I'll let it pass. You did well, and as a reward your payment for a rank mission. Said the aged Hokage with a proud smile on his visage and handed the blonde genin an envelope. Naruto looked inside of it and gaped like a fish. There was enough money in here to go on a 3-month eating spree at Ichiraku's. He wasn't going to do that but be responsible with his earnings he received. Thanks, Hokage Oji-san. Not to sound rude or anything, but can I go home and rest? I'm tired as hell. Asked Naruto and received a grandfatherly laugh in return. Of course you can, Naruto. Kakashi and I will finish up here while you go rest. Remember to take your photo for your shinobi ID card tomorrow afternoon. Replied Hiruzen. How could I forget? Well, anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Naruto said, leaving in a swirl of wind. After Naruto left, Hiruzen looked at Kakashi before asking, do you know what are my 2 greatest decisions I've ever made as Hokage up till now, Kakashi? Kakashi raised his lone eyebrow and asked, no, what are they, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen let a small smile grace his lips before replying, one of them was stepping down as Hokage and chose Minato to become my successor. And the other, Hokage-sama? Asked Kakashi with an interested look. The other one is that I let you become Naruto's sensei. Naruto was so lonely as a child, but you saved him from that, Kakashi. You became a brother-like figure to him, you trained him and took him under your wing. Now look at him, you have trained him into an excellent shinobi. I am proud to say that was my greatest decision as Hokage up till this point. Kakashi I smiled and replied, thank you, Hokage-sama. No, Kakashi-san, thank you. End of chapter 7. Chapter 8. Team placements. 2 days later at the academy, everyone that was in the academy were bustling with excitement. Today was team placements and Naruto couldn't help but smirk. No more holding back. No more of keeping up the facade of being the dead last. It was time for him to show his true potential. Naruto looked around the classroom and noticed that Iruka was still not there. He was probably being informed about Mizuki's betrayal to Konoha by Hiruzen. He felt sorry for Iruka knowing that Mizuki was a good friend of his, but that was the life as a shinobi. There were always traitors and they could quite possibly be your best friend, brother, sister, father, or even your mother. That's the reality of being a shinobi that have to live with. Naruto's musings were interrupted by the door being swung open by Sasuke's biggest 2 fangirls. Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino. Sigh. It was the same thing every day. Ha! I win, Ino pig. I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun. Screeched Sakura with her fist pumped into the air which received a glare from Ino. The only way you would have won was because of that forehead of yours and you didn't win, I did. So I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun, forehead. Ino yelled which received a growl in return from Sakura. What was that, Ino pig? Oh, you heard me, forehead. Sakura and Ino said while glaring about a foot away from each other. Everyone in the room could have sworn they saw electricity spark between the two of them. While they were having their little stare down, all the other fangirls decided to step in and say how they were there first, so they should sit next to their Sasuke-kun. Naruto let out an exasperated sigh. Didn't they know there were 2 seats next to their precious Sasuke-kun before anything could get out of line? Iruka walked in and quieted everyone down using his signature jutsu, big-headed no jutsu. Good morning, everyone. Today is the day that you all begin your life and career as a shinobi for your village, Kanagakure no Sado. I am proud that I was your sensei and looking forward to where your shinobi careers take you. I am proud of all of you. Especially you, Naruto. Iruka kept that last part to himself but glanced at Naruto who was staring out the window before Naruto looked to the front of the class. Ahem. Without further ado, team placements. Team 1 is Iruka called out most of the civilians to be placed in teams 1 through 6 until the 7th team. Team 7 will consist of Haruno Sakura, which the pink-haired girl perked up at hearing her name called. Uchiha Sasuke. And like usual Sasuke was looking out the window acting like he didn't hear Iruka call out his name. Before Iruka called the next name, Sakura jumped out of her seat with her fist held high, claiming true love conquers all or some type of bullshit like that. And Iruka gave Sakura like she was stupid or something before he continued. Uzumaki Naruto. Shit thought Naruto. Your Jonin-sensei will be Hada Kakashi. Well, that's not too bad. Atlas Nai-san is still my sensei. After Naruto thought that he felt someone staring at him. Turning his head to the right he saw the quiet and shy Hyuga heiress who had a sad look on her face before looking away sporting a blush on her face. Cute. Thought Naruto. Teammate will consist of Aburam Shino, Hyuga Hinata, and Inyazuka Kiba. Your Jonin-sensei will be Yuhi Kurenai. Team 9 is still in circulation. Team 10 will consist of Akamichi Chouji, Nara Shikamaru, and Yamanaka Ino. Your Jonin-sensei will be Sarutobi Asuma. After Iruka named all the teams, Shikamaru and Chouji fist bumped. Ino complained about being on the same team with the lazy Nara and the chubby Akamichi, which said Nara had to hold back Chouji from clobbering Ino and new comrade. Well, good luck, Where are you going, dope? Asked the last Uchiha, gaining Naruto's attention before he jumped out the window. The get lost on the path of life team, maybe you should too instead of brooding all the time. Before Sasuke could retort, Naruto leaped from the windowsill, leaving the brooding Uchiha and his pink-haired teammate. With Naruto 23 minutes later near training ground 3, Naruto leapt into the clearing looking for a certain silver-haired Cyclops Jonin. Making his way towards where he will most likely find him, the memorial shrine. A couple minutes of walking to the memorial shrine he saw his sensei like usual standing in front of the shrine. You know, they would want you to move on with your life instead of withering away in front of that shrine. Said Naruto to the stock still form of Kakashi. Kakashi finally moved his lone eye towards his apprentice before looking back to the memorial shrine. Yeah, I know, but it feels like I just owe it to them from what happened, especially Rin. Kakashi said with a downcast look. Looking at the name he just mentioned. Sighing, Naruto replied, look, Kakashi Nai. You can't keep doing this to yourself, you have to move on with your life and stop living in the past. They wouldn't want you to feel guilty for what happened. They did those things for you and for the safety of Konoha. Kakashi looked up from the stone to Naruto, then looking back. Kakashi turned to Naruto with an eye smile, which Naruto too that he didn't know how he did it. You're right, Naruto. I promise I'll try to move on from the past. How long before we have to get to the academy? My time. Naruto smirked and said a couple hours and some change. Why? How about a little spar between brothers and comrades? His only reply was Naruto taking off his jacket and drawing his sword. I'll take that as a yes. Said Kakashi before lifting his hit eye up, showing his Sharingan and adding, now I'll show you why they call me Sharingan no Kakashi. Well, I'm going to show you some things that even the Sharingan can't copy. Said Naruto while activating his Shinwagen and slapping his hands together. Mokuton Hijutsu, Jukai Koten, would release secret technique. Nativity of a world of trees. A second later, trees upon trees started growing out of nowhere trying to ensnarl Kakashi, but before the trees could reach him, he jumped out of the way while going through hand seals himself before shouting. Heian. Kakakyu no Jutsu, fire style. Great fireball technique, shouted Kakashi before spewing out a huge ball of fire towards Naruto's direction. Naruto jumped out of the way, ending his technique landing about 25 yards away from his sensei comrade Big Brother. Lesson 1. Taijutsu. Said Kakashi before getting in the Goken stance. His left arm was behind his back and his right arm was extended out with his hand extended out before he used the come hither motion with his right hand. Naruto grinned before putting one hand in the ram seal and thought, Kai, release. Naruto stretched out, getting used to his body being so light. After he finished stretching he stood there looking at Kakashi with the same grin. Neither moved an inch. A leaf was blown off by a small gust of wind and slowly descended between the two combatants before landing in the middle between the two. As the leaf landed, both disappeared from view, showing the fight had started. Chapter 9. The one man that was once called God of Shinobi for his prowess on and off the battlefield. Who has mastered all of the shinobi arts and all of the jutsus in Konohagakure no Seido, besides personal jutsus from clans. He was feared when he was on the battlefield, he was respected in his village, and he was a beloved husband, father, and grandfather. There was only one man that he thought that passed him in every aspect as a shinobi, and that man was Namikaze Minato. The Konoha no Kairoi Senko, Konoha's Yellow Flash, the fastest man alive who destroyed an entire battalion made up of 1,000 of Iwagakure no Seido's best forces single-handedly in a mere few seconds. He single-handedly won them the Third Shinobi War with that feat. After the war was over, Hiruzen decided to step down and named his new successor. He chose the man who he thought could lead Konoha to greater heights than he ever could. He chose his former student's apprentice Namikaze Minato as the fourth Hokage. Minato's run as Hokage was short-lived. A couple of years after his inauguration to the mantle of Hokage, the Kyuubi no Yoko attacked, nearly destroying their village in the process. Minato stopped the great beast and ended up sealing the Kyuubi in his newborn son, Naruto. Minato sacrificed his life by using the Fuinjutsu Shiki Fuin, Reaper Death Seal. Hiruzen always regretted that he didn't take Minato's place. Naruto would have had a better life, and maybe Minato could have saved Kushina in the process as well, even after having a Biju ripped out of her seal that contained the Kyuubi. Hiruzen let out a deep sigh, and maybe he wouldn't be in the predicament he was in now. A council meeting. A council meeting that involved a certain blonde and his promotion to genin. "I say we should imprison the beast. He is getting too strong for his own good," exclaimed a middle-aged civilian named Hibiki. All of the civilian council agreed. The shinobi council just shook their heads, wondering why the civilians were getting into shinobi affairs again. All the major clans were the heads to the shinobi council. The Hyuga clan head was Hyuga Hiashi. Hiashi had long black hair and featureless wide eyes. He wore a loose-fitting robes with a long-sleeved brown haori. He had two daughters, Hinata and Hanabi Hyuga. Hiashi was neutral to the situation, but he didn't see any problems with the Jinchuriki being a shinobi. The Nara clan head was Nara Shikaku, father of Nara Shikamaru. Shikaku and his son looked identical besides the scars on the right side of Shikaku's face. He had dark hair tied up in a ponytail that resembled a pineapple. He had black eyes as well as a goatee. He knew who Naruto was and who his parents were. He even encouraged his son to be friends with the boy. Unlike the civilians, he saw no problem with Naruto being a shinobi. The remaining clan heads were the Akamichi, who was led by Choza and Chaoji's father. The Yamanaka, led by Inoichi, he was also Ino's father. The Inyazuka, led by Tsume, she was Kiba's and Hana's mother. The Abiram, led by Shibi, he was Shino's father. They all thought along the same lines as both Hiashi and Shikaku. They were also the advisors for the Hokage, Mitsukato Himura, Udateen Kaharu, and Shimura Danzo. These three were indifferent towards Naruto. And if you read other fanfics or watch the Naruto anime, you know who they are. No point in going into detail with them. What do you say, Hokage-sama? Should we imprison the demo? Hibiki was cut off by Hiruzen when killing intent flooded the room. The whole civilian council could hardly breathe, on the verge of pissing themselves from the pressure of his killing intent. "Careful what you say around me, Hibiki-sama. Law is still in effect. If this is what you all called me here for, then I'm leaving. Naruto is under my command now, which involves shinobi matters. Do you have any power over my shinobi?" "No, you don't really. I had no idea." "If that's the case, then civilian, if we ever have a meeting like this again about Naruto or any of my other shinobi that are under my command, you will be prosecuted to the highest extent of the law for treason. And that goes for the rest of you. Do I make myself clear?" Hiruzen said with a menacing glare towards the civilian side, who were sweating bullets. "Hi, Hokage-sama." They chorused nervously. "This meeting is adjourned," Hiruzen said as a headache threatened to split his head in two. Hiruzen made his way out of the council room and back to his office. "I'm getting too old for this," he thought with a sigh. "I wonder how Naruto is doing." But Naruto training ground 3 1 hour later. Speaking of our favorite blonde, he was panting heavily with sweat pouring down his face, with his traditional fox-like smirk ever present on his face. Naruto was covered in cuts and bruises, his new attire that he had gotten from his surrogate brother, now ruined thanks to Kakashi. Naruto could care less, though he was having the time of his life sparring against the one man he called brother. Naruto wasn't the only one looking worse for wear. Kakashi was crouched down trying to regain his breath. These were the times he cursed that he only had above average size chakra reserves. His reserves have grown a lot since he had been training Naruto, but his reserves weren't on the level of Naruto's. Not even close. Kakashi's compared to Naruto's was like comparing a pond to an ocean. The scary part was that Naruto's reserves have grown daily. Kakashi hasn't been pushed like this in a long time. Not that he would admit that to the young blonde, but he would admit he was quite proud of his protege. He has grown so much from the boy he took under his wing only a few years ago. If he kept growing at this rate, he would surpass his father and then some. He was brought out of his musings by said blonde. "You had enough yet, Kakashi Nai? Because if you're not, I've still got a lot left in the tank to keep going," said Naruto with a confident smirk as his Shinrigan eyes outfaced his surrogate brother's lone Sharingan eye, who was still crouching on the ground. "Arrogance will only bring your own downfall, Naruto. Always remember that," Kakashi said, appearing behind Naruto with a kunai at his neck, and the crouched Kakashi poofed in smoke. "Always remember to look." The Cyclops was cut off by a kunai held to his throat. "Always remember to look underneath the underneath," the blonde said with a fox-like smirk as his clone poofed out of existence. "And it isn't arrogance, you could call it confidence, and loads of it." He was cut off as two hands shot out that grabbed both of his ankles, and he was pulled underground all the way to his neck. Oden, Shinju's Anshu no Jutsu. Earth release, double suicide decapitation technique. Whatever you say, Naruto. That load of confidence would have gotten you killed if I were anybody else. he said with an eye smile while covering his Sharingan with his headband, knowing he was the real Naruto and not another clone. With another pop the other Kakashi went up in smoke. Damn it. I was so close. I thought I had you this time. Said Naruto with a pout while deactivating his Shinwagon and receiving a sigh in return. Yeah, I'll admit that was close, stated Kakashi making the blonde smirk before Naruto could respond. Kakashi added, but you still have a lot of training to do before you can beat me. Said Kakashi with a childish smirk, not that you could tell with most of his face covered up. Oh yeah, Cyclops. Why don't we go another round and see who wins this time, or are you a chicken? Replied Naruto while hopelessly failing to get out of the ground so he could pummel the scarecrow's face in. Kakashi smiled while waving his finger back and forth and making TSK sound, making the blonde try even harder to get out of the ground. Sorry Naruto. Maybe next time. Right now, we have to go get your other two teammates from the academy, remember? He said while doing a few hand signs and stomped the ground which Naruto raised up and out of the ground. Fine. But, next time I'ma kick your ass Kakashi Nai. You hear me? Naruto said, yelled at the one-eyed Jounin who seemingly was engrossed in his Icha novels or porn or whatever you want to call it. Hey, you say something, Naruto Itaudo? Asked Kakashi with an eye smile. Naruto had multiple tick marks and without saying another word left in a swirl of wind. Did I say something wrong? The one-eyed Jounin said with his same traditional eye smile still in place. Academy 10 minutes later. Where the hell are they? Screeched the pink banshee making Sasuke cover his ears with his hands. Not that he could really blame her for how long they've been waiting for. It's almost been 3 hours. I swear the next time I see Naruto Baka, I'm gonna kill him. Screeched Sakura again. As if on cue Naruto made his way through the window and Kakashi through door. They both said simultaneously, sorry I'm late, a black cat crossed my path so I had to take the long way around. Naruto and Kakashi had a look of shock on their faces and said again you too. Which they both nod. Yeah, it's the third time today. The ex-Anbu captain said. Man, that cat's replied the blonde with a raised fist. Both Kakashi and Naruto burst out into a fit of laughter while getting 2 angry glares in return. Kakashi turned to the other 2 in the room and said I like this kid, he even had me believing that hehe. Sakura had a tick mark the size of Hokage Mountain and screeched out liars. You're both liars. We've been waiting for 3 hours for you two. Kakashi, Naruto, and Sasuke covered their ears to prevent from ruptured eardrums. Damn, Ms. MC Pipers, take a chill pill, rub your forehead or something. Damn, I think I went deaf. Said the blonde while digging in his ear with his pinky. What was that? Screeched the pink-haired girl again making them cover their ears again. Whoa, calm down. Since everyone is here meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. Said the silver-haired scarecrow before leaving in a sealess leaf shunshin and not be outdone by Kakashi. Naruto left in a swirl of wind. Sasuke who saw it looked on in shock. Sakura wasn't really paying attention since she was fuming to herself about having to wait for 3 hours for her sensei and the dead last of their class doing kami knows what. Haha, if only she knew. How does the dobe know how to use the shunshin? It doesn't matter, once a dobe, always a dobe, Sasuke mused to himself while making his way to the roof and leaving Sakura fuming before she followed after the Uchiha. Academy's roof 6 minutes later. About 6 minutes had passed and finally Sasuke and Sakura made it to the roof of the academy. They both saw Kakashi leaning on a handrail and Naruto was sitting on the stairs in front of Kakashi. You're late. Kakashi exclaimed making Sakura fumed even more and Sasuke just gave his normal response HMPH while he continued his walk and sat on the stairs next to where Naruto was sitting. Humming from the person who was 3 hours late to meet their genin for the first time. Sakura screeched making the males cover their ears again. Well, that is true, but I am your Jounin sensei, so that means I outrank you, and when I say 5 minutes, I mean 5 minutes. And who said I would be 3 hours ago? A shinobi never reveals what time they arrive because little information like that could get you killed. Replied Kakashi in a nonchalant tone while turning a page of his book and continued reading, which made Sakura fume even more if that was even possible. Kakashi looked up from his book when Sakura sat down next to Sasuke and closed his book with snap, putting it away in his weapons pouch. Clearing his throat he said, okay, introductions are in order. So why don't you all start off with introducing yourselves? Introduce ourselves, what are we supposed to say? Asked Sakura with a confused expression. You can start off with your name, then the things you like, dislike, hobbies and your dreams for the future, things like that. He said in his same nonchalant tone. Could you start off to give us an example of what you mean? Asked Pinkette, which received a sigh from the blonde. For the girl who graduated the top of her class for the Kunoichis, you sure are pretty Dan, said Naruto while he was eating an instant cup of ramen. Wait, how in the hell did he have tea? You know what, never mind. What was that? Exclaimed a furious Sakura with a tick mark growing on her forehead. Whoa, calm down Sakura-chan. Wouldn't want you to burst a blood vessel in that head of yours and lose the little brain cells you actually have left from all that screeching you do. Replied Naruto with his patent foxy grin. I'm gonna kill you. Screeched Sakura before she could lunge at Naruto. Kakashi spoke up. That's enough. Sakura, sit down and stop yelling at your team member, and Naruto, stop insulting your team member, and Sasuke, stop pouting as if someone kicked your puppy. Sasuke just looked at Kakashi with a what the hell, I didn't even do anything look. We are a team and you need to act like a team. What would happen if I was down for the count and we were on an important mission? What would you do? No answers. Didn't think so. We are team 7. So act like a team. Kakashi looked at his future team and saw Sakura lower her head. Sasuke just glared, probably because of that kicking his puppy comment, and Naruto just grinned and waved at Kakashi. Kakashi narrowed his lone eye at Naruto and thought, you're actually trying to make me put some work into this? Oh, I got something planned for you, you little shit. There was an awkward silence that settled between the four that lasted a little over a minute before Kakashi spoke up. Okay, back to introducing ourselves. I'll start off. My name is Hada Kakashi. There are many things I like and many things I don't like that I don't feel like explaining. I have lots of hobbies and a dream for the future. Never really thought about. Kakashi trailed off as it seemed he was lost in thought. Wow, that was useless, he only told us his name. Thought Sakura's eyebrow was twitching furiously. Sasuke just narrowed his eyes at Kakashi and gave a HMPH. Kakashi nai will never change, hahaha. Thought Naruto with a grin. Okay, you next, Pinky. Said Kakashi, which received a glare in return. Fine. My name is Haruno Sakura. The things that I like is, looked over at Sasuke, squeal, I mean the person I like is, glancing back over at Sasuke, squeal, my hobbies are, glancing to you know who, squeal, dreams for the future, one more glance to Sasuke, another high-pitched squeal, said Sakura with a dreamy look in her eyes. Is there anything you don't like? Asked Kakashi with an annoyed tone. Oh. Baka for trying to steal my true love. Replied Sakura. Naruto elbowed Sasuke, discreetly gaining Sasuke's attention, and with a what, Naruto whispered, that is one crazy fangirl you got there, team. She is practically mind you right not. Don't remind me dope. Sasuke whispered back with an annoyed expression. Okay, the kid with the kicked puppy, you're next. Said Kakashi pointing toward Sasuke. HMPH, my name is Sasuke. I hate a lot of thing, and I don't particular like anything. What I have is not a dream, because I will make it a reality. I am going to restore my clan and to kill a certain someone. After Sasuke finished, Naruto and Kakashi slightly glanced at each other with a look of concern before looking back at Sasuke. Sakura just looked at Sasuke with a dreamy look. Oh okay, you're up, my favorite protege. Said Kakashi with an eye smile. Sasuke narrowed his eyes on that protege comment while Sakura, well, she was daydreaming about said protege? What do you mean by protege? Interrupted Sasuke as he looked over at Naruto, eyes still narrowed. You will find out soon enough, Sasuke. But right now it is Naruto's turn to introduce himself. You had your turn to speak and now it's Naruto's turn to speak. Go ahead, Naruto. Said Kakashi with an eye smile. I'm sorry, you say something, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto with an innocent look as if he didn't hear Kakashi. I'm starting not to like you, said Kakashi with the same eye smile. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you. Naruto replied with his foxy grin. The floor is yours, introduce yourself. You little shit, said thought Kakashi. Oh. Well, why didn't you just say so? My name is Uzumaki Naruto. There are lots of things I like, such as Ichiraku Ramen, Hokajoji-san, my Nai-san, training, working on new jutsu. There are many other things I like, but I would rather not bore you and waste your time with the rest. The only dislike I can think of is waiting 3 minutes for cooking instant ramen. My hobbies are training, reading, eating all the different types of ramen, and new ways to better myself as a shinobi. My dream for the future is to restore the Uzumaki clan and also to become the Hokage, but not just the Hokage, but the greatest Hokage, even greater than the fourth, and to bring peace to this hate-filled world, an unbreakable peace. Exclaimed Naruto, who was practically oozing confidence. Both Sasuke and Sakura looked at Naruto with a dumbfounded expression. I mean, who could blame them? Not many people would proclaim what Naruto just said. Kakashi cleared his throat to gain his genin's attention before he said, since we have a better understanding of each other, we can move on. Tomorrow we will have our first mission. What type of mission are we going to have? Asked Sakura with a curious expression. Kakashi just gave her eye smile before saying, a survival exercise. A survival exercise? What type of survival exercise? Asked Sakura. It is a survival exercise to see if we are good enough to become genin. Replied Naruto as he was spinning a kunai around his index finger. If we are good enough to become genin? Wait, I thought we were already genin, we already passed the genin exam. Yelled Sakura with a furious look in her eyes. That exam was just for genin candidates who might have a chance to become a genin. This exercise is to weed out candidates who don't deserve to become a genin. You know what, Kakashi-sensei, why don't you take over? I don't even know why I started talking, you are our superior, why don't you explain it? Said Naruto with a sheepish grin etched onto his face. Kakashi just eye smiled and nodded. Of the 27 genin candidates that graduated, only 9 will actually be accepted as genin. The other 18, you could say, they will be weeded out and sent back to the academy. In other words, it is a make it or break it pass-fail test. The chance for you all failing is at least 66%. But if you look on the bright side, you have a 33% chance to pass. Explained Kakashi, which received shock look from Sakura and a raised eyebrow from Sasuke. What? Yelled Sakura. She was finally on a team with Sasuke and now they were just trying to take him away from her. Sorry, that's how it is. I will decide if you will pass or if you fail. Be at training ground 3 tomorrow morning at 5 AM sharp. Well, that's it, you're dismissed and I suggest you miss breakfast or you'll puke. Later. And just like that, Kakashi was gone in a puff of smoke. You know what, don't listen to Kakashi sensei, eat a big breakfast tomorrow, you're gonna need it. Before they could respond, Naruto left in a swirl of wind, leaving the two to their thoughts. I refuse to go back to the academy. I will pass this test and I will be a step closer to my ambition. Sasuke thought to himself before getting up and made his way off the roof with Sakura following suit. Training ground 3 20 minutes later. What? What the hell do you mean I have to run the survival test? Why in the hell can't you do it, you're the Jounin sensei? Exclaimed agitated Naruto. I know I am the Jounin sensei. You are my genin and as your superior you are doing this and that's final. Besides, it would be good for the three of you as team. Replied Kakashi in his same nonchalant tone with his traditional eye smile ever present. Kakashi, I'm starting to not like you, said Naruto with narrowed eyes. Kakashi just waved him off and said, come on, you know it will be fun. Don't even to deny it. Naruto thought about for a second and grinned. You know what, it actually could be fun, alright, I'll do it. That's the spirit, see you at 10 AM tomorrow, later. Said Kakashi before he walked off with his book in hand. Kakashi made it about 10 steps before a black cat jumped down from a tree branch and landed in front of Kakashi. Panic flashed in his lone eye before he started running back towards where Naruto was. Naruto. That goddamn cat is back, run the opposite way as fast as you can before it catches us and gives us bad luck for life, run. Yelled the scarecrow in fear as he darted past Naruto. Naruto looked over to where his surrogate brother was and saw the black cat. Not needing to be told twice, Naruto started running and eventually caught up to Kakashi. That cat is such a, I swear that cat is stalking us, that's the 4th time today. A relieved Naruto said, knowing that the cat was left in the dust. And people think we make up excuses just for fun, if only they knew, trailed off Kakashi as he cried in tears along with Naruto. What if neglected Naruto has uzumaki dojutsu? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.